Surprise.
What's up? Yo.
Surprise. It is Wednesday.
We're back.
Okay.
It is Wednesday, and the Houston Astros start the World Series on Friday. How about
They
it?
do, man.
Man.
It's great. You know what's crazy is, so Saturday, evening, afternoon, whatever, Texas was playing at the exact same time. So I had like the side-by-side on the TV going. And, usually I'm really, really, really pissed off when Texas loses. But it was like I was literally watching the utter domination of New York Yankees on the other side of my TVs. So I didn't care. I was just like, you know what? I'll sacrifice the Astros. I'll sacrifice the rest of the Longhorn season for an Astros World Series ring. Whatever. So that's how I'm rocking today.
Hey, man, beauty of sports, right? Like, as long as you got a handful of teams, if one lets you down, you can kind of just jump on the other one.
It's beautiful, So
it's like buying NFTs, right? You just if you buy enough,
one's got to be
enough. There's one's going to be going up at some point.
Yeah, no, 100% has to make the it has to do right. So I don't know, man. It was a good week of football. It was kind of a chalk week of football, to be honest. In my opinion.
Upsets.
You had a couple, but I don't know. Maybe I'm foreshadowing this weekend. Honestly, this weekend I was literally thinking that I'm just going to take a bunch of naps on Saturday. But
Hey, man. Usually those weekends, as people sleepwalk and scary things happen, especially Halloween weekend. Could be some action-packed, scary sights in some stadiums.
Yeah, we're that time of the year where it gets real, right? If you're in the mix now, it's like this is when you start feeling it a little bit. So you never can let your guard down because anything can happen.
No, and here's when, early in the season, everybody's alive. Now it's just getting smaller and smaller. We're getting down to the games that matter. And it is fun, and it's going to be over before we know it. So maybe get a little golf in or a nap, but take your phone with you and keep the stream going.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's roll into the Week 8 nightcap. Yo, we've already got Shane's already crowning Ben.
Appreciate that, Shane.
Right.
Appreciate that.
That's good stuff.
This man's a walking W when it comes to everything that doesn't count.
Taylor.
Don't throw up last week's picks in while you're saying that, please.
If it count, no, that's what I was saying. If it's picks that count, go against
Cash on the line.
If it's the stuff that he brings to the table later, follow that 100%.
Right.
So how are y'all feeling about this week, guys? Or last week?
Man.
Can you throw up the picks from last week? 'Cause I think there's some big games in there, and
I can go straight into our picks. I didn't want to. I wanted to hear you guys talk first, and then throw up our little pick roasts, which our little segment card's great. But yeah, no, this is
I'll take the split.
This is us.
To me, it was just the cream rising to the top. I was just trying to remember which games there were, but Clemson, big win. TCU, big win. Bama coming out right after that loss with a statement. LSU, showing that they might be kind of for real getting late into the season. So it was just a lot. To me, it was just a lot of the cream rising to the top, and this is where we're starting to get that separation.
Man,
yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Go ahead.
Man, how about it that we were on opposite ends of every single pick and just split it right down Broadway? How about it? I'll take it on there.
Yeah, there's very few people I'd want to do that with other than you.
Man, but like you said, Clemson, finding a way to win. Certainly feels like they shouldn't have anything standing between them and the playoff, for better or for worse, however you feel about that. But they are set up well to kind of roll down the stretch. Oregon, my Ducks, I'd love to just kind of take a quick 3 seconds here, say I believed in them all season. Those are my guys. I was in the trenches with them on Saturday. Glad to see the Quack Attack take it out. And Bama, man, I tell you what, there's nothing that's more sure of a bet than taking Saban after a loss. So it was good to see. Kind of a weird game, and I'm sure Spen can expound a little more on that. But they covered. So good teams win, great teams cover.
Amen. Yeah, I thought each one of these games had some interesting takeaways. First for Clemson, I kind of backed off Clemson a little bit after that performance. I just thought, I don't know where they go with quarterback now, right? I mean, Klubnik kind of turned things around for them. Did they go with him? I mean, so many turnovers early in that game. They looked sloppy. They were not where they'd been, where I thought they had been the last few weeks. So Clemson kind of took a step back in my mind. And I think, look, you guys always want to say Bama gets the calls. Clemson got a few calls in that one. Like, there's no doubt about it. Sorry, Casey. But it's kind of the truth in that game. But they found a way to win, right? And that's all that matters. And now they are pretty much cakewalk to ACC championship and more than likely the playoffs. But I don't know. Do you guys think, like, if you put them in the mix, if they make the top four, forget about who the top four is, pick any of the top 6 teams. Do you think Clemson can beat any of the top 6 teams right now?
Hold on. Pause. Casey, here it comes for sure. Clemson sucks. Yes, they're undefeated. But they suck. If they go up against any of the other 5 teams, whether it be pick your poison with the SEC teams, Michigan or Ohio State, they get dog walked. Clemson is not that great of a team. I'm just going to be 100% honest. Yes, it's a cakewalk to the ACC championship, but after that, I think they get absolutely destroyed. It doesn't matter who they play if they make it to the playoff. That's
when we're looking
saying
at
it with his chest.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's wrong. I mean, number one, don't apologize to Casey because his team's still undefeated. Bad, calls on his side or not. But we look at their last 3 games: Louisville, Miami, South Carolina. They're just not elite. They could stumble to any of those teams.
Yeah.
I guess they could, but it's hard to imagine at this point. Yeah. If the quarterback play is still up in the air, I mean, anything's possible. The defense hadn't quite come around, and you still wonder, like, Syracuse had him beat and had outplayed him for a while there, but they found a way to win, and they got out of it, and who knows where they go, and they got time to get better before the end. But I think just from what we've seen so far, and I thought the biggest thing for me that I was in on Clemson is because of DJ had looked better, but this last game kind of erased a lot of the goodwill I had towards him. So we'll see what happens this weekend.
Only team with 3 top 25 wins: Wake Forest, NC State, and Syracuse. Say that with your chest.
Right?
What does Tennessee have? Doesn't Tennessee have 4 top 25?
Does TCU not?
4, yeah. But I mean, when you look at Clemson, like you said, Spend, is down the stretch, they're going to have time they'll have every opportunity to improve. They're going to be in the playoff. Like, I don't see anything stopping that, outside of, an upset somewhere along the lines, but they're going to be in the playoff. They'll have their chance to prove it. So they have, 2 months left to figure it out. I think the defense is on par with being a playoff team enough if the offense was great, but the offense is kind of scuffled. So I don't know, that we'll see, but they're going to be in the playoff. I don't see any way around it. So they'll get their chance to prove it.
And Casey might be right that they're the only team with 3, and that's because Tennessee and TCU have 4.
That's where I was going.
Current ranked teams too. I don't know how it all shakes out, but
I mean, they've been good, winning, all that matters.
Yeah. Well, we'll stop crapping on Clemson for a second.
Yeah.
Let's shift that attention to Ole Miss. I know. I'm sure Doc, you got a couple words there. Listen. This was a tale of 2 halves for me. I was first half going, I told those guys.
Yeah, no,
100%. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Look at this. Come in there, and they're running them out of the gym. Then I turned it off. Like, I wasn't watching. There's some other games on. I was more interested in.
Yeah.
And I was doing stuff on Saturday, and all of a sudden, I turned back on, and they're getting just run out of the building. I could not believe what happened. So I still haven't gone back and watched it. I don't know what fell apart for them, but it's a bit of a surprise. I don't know. Again, this is one of those games where I'm like, I don't know if this is LSU actually kind of coming together, or is this Ole Miss just like, doing Ole Miss things.
I hate to say it, LSU had a phenomenal game. Jaden Daniels was out there looking like Vince Young. It was wild. Like, I don't know, man. LSU played in my opinion, they played a complete game. It was just, I don't know. They came out. Ole Miss did jump up early, 17-3, but then after that, it was just.
It was 42-3 LSU after that.
Yeah.
It was 17-3
so if that
to
shows
a flip of a
anything.
42-3.
Right. Oh, now LSU is suddenly good? No, whoa. Pause. I'm not saying they're good, But I did also say several times that Ole Miss is not as good as we think they are. So
I think they are good. I mean, how much more winning do you have to do? They might not be great, but they're good.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, my buddy I was talking with afterwards, he was like, Harold Perkins was the difference. He woke up, he got after the quarterback, and he changed the game totally for Ole Miss. I think Lane said it himself. And then, when Jaden just maybe stops thinking and starts playing, he did it as a freshman, and then I think it just too much pressure on him, and now he's just playing loose, and Brian Kelly's got him rolling.
359 yards and 5 touchdowns for Jaden Daniels in the air and on the ground.
I mean, look, I get what Shane and Casey are saying. It sounds like we're making excuses for LSU, and we're buying into a brand. But I mean, it is expected for them to start off a little slow with a new coach and a lot of the turnover and stuff they had, and to get better. You would expect the teams are going to go different directions all year, right? LSU seems to be kind of on the up and up, whereas some other teams are pulling back. Doc might say Clemson's one of those, but I'm just saying, some teams are going different directions. So LSU, we're going to find out who they are at some point for sure. They got plenty ahead of them, but it seems like they're playing better, and who knows? Maybe they have a chance to compete against an Alabama. I don't know.
Yeah, because what's funny is if we go back to the beginning of the year, I said LSU was at the bottom of the barrel in the SEC West, in my opinion. But they're slowly bringing it together. I'm not saying they're a world beater or they're a great team. They played really good this weekend. In my opinion, Ole Miss has been overrated. So guys, don't give me too much shit about this. But I'll get to A&M, Casey. I'll get to A&M. Yeah. We'll get there.
But I mean,
Pat's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, LSU, they're going to be like an 8 or 9 win team. Right? So I mean,
somehow
when you say what is that's good, right? And the SEC West, I feel like that's good. So I'm not saying theoretically and technically they control their own destiny to the SEC championship game. If that happens, I don't know what to tell you, but I think they're like an 8 or 9 win team. That's good. That's fine.
And I mean, Vegas had them low, but they lost to Florida State by 1 first game of the season. That's not shocking. They got smoked by Tennessee. Other than that, a close game against Auburn and everything, Ole Miss by 25, Florida comfortably by 10, Mississippi State by 15. I mean, that's a team that's not, Clemsoning their way, little 3-point comeback win here, 1-point win there. I mean, they're beating, some pretty decent football teams and beating them by double digits.
And I'll give a little love to TCU while we're here too on this graphic up, because it seemed like they were in kind of that spot where they're about to get beat
last week
against K-State, and they rose up and made a nice comeback, a nice performance here to close it out. So I'm curious how they continue to roll. Got an interesting game this weekend, and everything's out of them right now, and they're still not getting a lot of love, but they seem to kind of be a pretty balanced team. But I still think the Big 12 doesn't seem like there's anybody great there. It seems like there's some good teams, but it's even an undefeated team right now. TCU is like, they'll probably give it a run, but you feel like it's inevitable they lose at some point.
What's crazy? Go ahead.
This is that exact spot where these let's call them off-brand Big 12 teams. I mean, not Texas, not OU. For real, like Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 11-0 going into the last game. They lose by a field goal. Baylor all the way to the end. They could be going to the playoffs. They lose in the Big 12 championship game. I mean, it's got that feel. Can they buck that trend and just keep hanging on? Are they a team to fade in the first half and get on in the second half? I mean, that's two weekends in a row. They were down pretty big. What happens if Adrian Martinez doesn't go out? I mean, there's a lot of questions, but they answered the call. They came back. They're a fun team to watch, and they got the W.
Yeah, Casey, real quick, Casey. I know I've got you feeling some type of way, but also know that I also am feeling some type of way. I've had a migraine for 2 hours, and I'm starting to get a little bit of life after finally finding some medicine.
There we go.
So if we get a little fired up,
let's
just have some fun,
TCU finishes with Texas, Baylor, and Iowa State. So, I mean, and then a Big 12 championship game. So, while those teams, obviously, they'll probably be favored in those games, or 2 of them are on the road, and they're all losable. So,
absolutely.
All right, so here's my question. So I watched actually, you know what? I watched maybe 15 minutes of UCLA, Oregon. What happened? What happened? What happened to UCLA?
Bo Nix took that game over, man.
That's disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting.
Because you look at the offensive. So, if you look at the offensive statistics, UCLA was averaging something crazy. It was like 5 yards of play. I think they punted once, or it was some insane stat like that. Extremely efficient, and they lost by 15. Part of that quick kind of out of nowhere onside kick by Oregon in the third quarter kind of gave them a free possession. And really that was kind of the difference throughout is they were able to kind of give themselves a little extra leg room, and then it was just trading scores.
And Oregon they were just always kind of comfortably in the lead. UCLA could never quite get to that spot where, one big play and we're back in this. They were just always behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
I was surprised.
I just hope that Oregon doesn't keep winning because, God, I don't want to see them in the playoff. I'm sorry, Nelly. I just don't. Like, that's another one of those teams that I feel like would just get dog walked, and I don't want to see it,
So, well, the committee's going to remember that. I mean, of course, all the Pac-12 advocates and Oregon defenders will say, hey, like Spen said earlier, teams improve throughout the season. But it's going to be very hard for the committee to overlook a 49-3 loss to another playoff team.
But that was 10. That will have been 12 games ago.
Yeah.
That's.
I think.
I'm an Oregon lover. You guys know that. I'm just saying, like that's going to be the argument that folks will make.
Yeah, I don't think we've had that example yet, so that would be interesting to see. Because you can make the argument: new coach, first game, tough. Road game essentially, and then I think Bo Nix has been a different quarterback. And I remember after like week 1 or week 2, there was I read some reports, I heard somebody talking about it. Like Lanning went in there and just said, "Listen, like we trust you, like go out there and play." Whereas like Bo Nix had not had that, I think the confidence maybe from his head coach to just kind of go out there and do his thing, and it's kind of changed his mindset. And whether or not that's the truth and whether or not that's opened him up, I don't know. But the results are kind of there for him. But I mean, if they beat Utah, Washington, and then whoever it is in the Pac-12 championship. I mean, it depends on how the other cards fall, but they'll definitely have an argument at that point to get in. They can't point to one win outside of the conference, which is the problem right now. Yeah. But I would imagine that they'll overlook that a little bit, just depending on who else is there. But they'll need some help.
And they've got a pretty fairly easy schedule coming out. California, they go to California, they go to Colorado, which, I mean, you can sleepwalk through that. Washington at home, Utah at home, and then they're at Oregon State, probably at night in late November, which is always scary, but, that's 40 miles down the road, so they're used to that. No, that's a Washington one.
Not the Apple.
Wrong state.
Yeah, so they're
wrong state.
But, like, DiCaprio, would you rather see Oregon in there? Or would you rather see Clemson in there?
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, God. All right. Honestly, right now, give me Oregon.
Don't say it.
Give me Oregon.
That's the thing.
We're going to have to get moving on, or we're going to get stuck in an argument on that here.
But I think Oregon has a chance to play with those teams more so than unless Clemson's defense is that good and they can hold, a Tennessee or a Georgia down into the 20s, that'll give them a chance to win. But if they got a score to win, it's not going to happen. Where Oregon, theoretically could do that.
And I think that's the biggest. Determining factor is the amount of points that they could score. I think if you put Clemson and Oregon head to head, I think Clemson would lose that game. Of course, Casey, I'm sure I'm going to hear that, but. No, look,
this is what I would say. Before we get all in on Oregon right now, I just want to say, like, let's look at the Pac-12, and as good as like some of these games have been, and how close some of these teams look, they have no results outside of their conference right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. UCLA, Bowling Green, Alabama State, and a near loss to South Alabama. Right? And then Oregon's been the same. BYU, but BYU's not a great team.
That's
so
really
Utah goes to Florida. Utah goes to Florida,
so
loses.
Everybody talks about like, oh well, the SEC they're just beating each other. We don't know how good they are. Like I feel like that's where the Pac-12 is right now. There could be some good teams there, but before we crown Oregon or whoever else, like I want to see them. They're going to have to prove it to me right now because they have no results outside of their conference.
Casey, Ohio State hasn't done jack shit. Okay, they've beat up on inferior Big Ten teams.
That's the point, though, is Ohio State has shown eliteness where Clemson just they haven't.
They do.
It doesn't mean they can't win or they can't be a good team, but Ohio State went in there and hung half 100 on a team that hadn't given up 27 points all season long or something.
Hey,
like
look,
that.
I was hyped to see Iowa in double digits. I was hyped to see Iowa score 10 points. I was oh hell yeah, let's
get used
to
it, buddy.
No thanks to their offense.
Yeah. All right, real quick, Texas. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. You go 33 minutes and 43 seconds without scoring a touchdown when you score 31 points in the first half. Absolutely pathetic. I still don't understand what the issue is in that locker room at halftime, but whatever it is, it has to be fixed immediately. There's no reason why we're on the road at OK State, score 31 points in the first half, and only kick a field goal in the second half. It's just downright atrocious. It pisses me off to think about, but this is where we are right.
Bro, imagine having the over on the team total of 32, and you're just cashing that ticket at halftime, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, is this actually not going to happen? So, listen, that was a game we said last week. Texas needs to win. They got to go out and win, not to prove they're back, just to prove that, like, okay, this is a team that's kind of here to stay. They're in the right direction, and boom, they laid an egg. But Oklahoma State's been good, and they continue to find ways to win despite their defense giving up 500 plus yards per game. It blows my mind.
And what's
There's
bad
quite a few fellas here that thought Texas was going to win by a touchdown.
But what's crazy is, I mean, we all did, but I also think the fact that
we did not all do that.
Quinn had the ball twice.
Several of us thought that was going to happen.
Quinn
An
had
overwhelming amount of us.
Go ahead.
I would just like to point out that Quinn Ewers had the ball twice in the last 3 minutes of that game to go down the field and do something, and all he did was throw interceptions. So thank you, Mullet Man. You played amazing.
I mean,
I said about Quinn
Arch Manning coming.
He's a freshman. Like, he's going to make mistakes. I mean, he's looked really good at times. But it's that the offseason is going to be really interesting with him.
That last one was off the hands. And Spin, thanks for the Texas team total overplay. I jumped on that with you.
Do you know what's funny is the guys in the Discord, we were talking about the over-under at halftime, and somebody mentioned like a new over-under of like 80-something. I think it was like 82. And they were like, in the fourth quarter, they were like, well, what about that over-under now? I was like, I would never bet an over-under over 80 points in the middle of a game. Like, I'm not touching that. Like, oh, man, that was wild. I'm going to get to an over and under here in a couple minutes, but that was tough. I think we've touched all we haven't talked about Mississippi State and Bama, Ben.
Yeah, there's not much to say. I was watching Pat McAfee's broadcast, and they were tossing a football around and talking about everything but the game. That's kind of where it was. But Bama was dominant against the team they should have, and it's kind of what it's been pretty much the par for the course against in that series. Mississippi State. I mean, they literally had to score a touchdown with no time on the clock to avoid the shutout. Their first touchdown in Tuscaloosa in like 8 years. So it took against the backups in a 30-0 game or whatever it was to get there. But it is what it is. Bama's, listen, they a few games ahead of them are going to be tough. This wasn't one of them that I was concerned about. So they got it taken care of, got out of there pretty healthy and moved on.
A really quick spin. What's more entertaining, the Pat McAfee coverage or the Manning brothers coverage on Monday Night Football?
I need to see a different game. I love I think the Mannings do an awesome job, and they have great guests. I like McAfee, but I don't know his group enough to like get everything they're doing yet. Right? They have a lot of inside stuff that they do that I just haven't picked up on yet.
The McAfee game when Clemson played, who was that? Was that NC State a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. So.
Like that one was really good. I mean, honestly, I watch McAfee daily, so. My opinion is going to be swayed. I think they do a pretty solid job. I think they need to continue doing that because I honestly think that just brings a different spin, to the broadcast. But, I mean, hey, I didn't watch 5 seconds of Mississippi State Bama to be 100% honest with you. So,
like, I just found myself, it's kind of weird. Like, I find myself in NFL watching the Mannings because I think it's more interesting to me. It's more entertaining. I like them better. And like they talk some pretty good football. They analyze the game well. This one, I found myself going back to Kurt because he's actually talking about the team, talking about the players, talking about coaches, what's being said. Whereas like McAfee and them aren't really breaking it down. They're funny and they're like, they have a different angle on it, but I don't think you learn anything from them. At least I didn't.
And what's funny is I agree with you because I actually do like Kirk Herbstreit's calls when he calls games. Like, I like what he's bringing to the table over any Monday night announcer for the NFL. So that's why I actually do prefer the Manning cast as well. So, yeah, no, Kurt's the man. Nelly, is this true? Do you hate Pat McAfee?
All right, so my thing, I just feel like on the game day portion, he just needs to I think he's trying to carve out his own role, and he's just going too hard, man. He's just screaming the whole time, and I'm with him. I've watched the broadcast with him that y'all talked about. I enjoy that. I just feel like he's just going buck wild on game day.
That's him though.
I know. He just needs to take it down a skosh, man.
Because even I'm a WWE guy, so on Friday nights when he was doing SmackDown, the dude's jumping up on the table, yelling, hollering, just I don't know, man. I just think it's when he gets around crowds and he gets around people, a lot of people, his energy just is a fucking 12. So no,
he's an entertainer.
Yeah, no, he's 100% an entertainer. We're gonna switch from picks to our locks. I'm pissed about this Cincy SMU over, boys.
I'm pissed about a lot of things in that game. Well, one thing in that game.
Let me tell you, had they scored any points in the first quarter, this hits. Any significant points in the first quarter, this hits. But just the end of that game, I caught myself watching most of this game. Surprisingly enough, I was entranced by it. I'm like, all right, we're gonna knock this out of the park. This is gonna be easy. And I'm sitting here watching the first quarter, and I'm like, oh my God, is this even gonna get close? But honestly, it was one of those games where I think the over. What'd you say, Cerveza? It got to 60?
It got to at least 60. Yeah, I was putting it in the parlay. I saw it was that many points off. I'm like, well, I'm not going to take a bad number. Parlay went to trash pretty quick, but yeah, I wasn't going to take a bad number.
But yeah, 29-27 was the final score. If this tells you anything, Bryant had 200 yards. Mordecai had 105 yards. And there was one touchdown pass between the two of them. And they both have been putting up wild stats all year. So it was honestly just a sloppy game, a bunch of field goals. And it ended up being 56 instead of, 58. So there's that, guys.
I was up till 4 a.m. watching that Washington game. Because, Finn, you asked me my thoughts as a Pac-12 guy. I'm just still can't explain it. Cal is not good. Washington's got to be better than that. I think I might have said it just. I think I might have said it just might be one of those Vegas things where it's it looks weird, and then you find out later that it was, and that's the only explanation I can have.
I still feel like even watching that game, still feel like I was on the right side of it.
Absolutely.
250 yards and 6 points in the first half is what Washington had.
Kicking
and there was one the pass interference call where Washington scores a touchdown. They call a questionable offensive pass interference, and then it backs them up. They don't make a field goal, so they went from scoring a touchdown to getting 0, and that ended up being the difference in the game. But I absolutely expected the second half to be the game, 43 total points. That's what I thought we'd see more of. And it's crazy because there were some good live opportunities in that game because I loved everything about points in that game. I said it everywhere, but even at halftime, it was so depressing. When it's so depressing when you're in a spot at halftime where the live number makes you feel so awful about the side you're on. But Washington, who I love their team total at halftime was 19.5 points. That's how little respect Vegas had for Washington was doing. So we hit that, and we hit another live total, which was 35 during the game. So we were able to make it back a little bit, but yeah, it was just frustrating to watch because they were doing everything offensively in that first half and got 6 points. So it is what it is. You move on. The hook kills you sometimes, but it's a loss, but I still like the pick. But
there's another game this week that is that exact same spot. This week, so
yeah,
I'll bring that to the table a little bit later.
I like your pick too. Good call on the over there.
Thank you. I mean, it's Big 12 just scoring points. I mean, it just the number looked way too low, and it was.
Wow, Shane. I love that, honestly. I love that. Because you know what's funny is I think I've mentioned it a couple times. I'm not really here for the betting. Like, I'm not a big bettor. I'm not some sharp. I'm not a shark. I'm not anything like that. I'm here for the game. Like, I'm here for the passion of the football, the stories, the stuff like that. So if you guys are making money tailing me, hell yeah. Or picking the opposite.
Fading you, yeah.
Fading, yeah. Like, if you're making money fading me, then fucking have at it, you know?
I hope nobody watched the Mizzou Vandy game. I did watch it.
For a lot
of the worst game that's ever been played.
Wasn't that like a bad game?
Yeah, it's a 17-14 final. I was watching it on my phone while I was at like a black tie event this weekend. So it made it like extra, like like when Step Brothers are interviewing and Tuxedo's like, man, now that I think about it, it's kind of really stupid. That's like how I felt. I was like, I'm dressed up and I just made the worst like pick ever. So yeah, Eli Drinkwitz, he keeps cruising along, man. Finds a way to win by 3 against Vandy. There you go.
But it's like you're sitting there, you're watching it at the table. Somebody's like, "Oh, what game are you watching?" Thinking it's like the big game of the week. You're like, Mizzou Vandy.
So I'm assuming that Spend, you were the only one that got a dub this week on our locks.
No, I fell a half point short. It was Cerveza.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Cerveza
okay, you had the
baby.
Washington. Okay, yeah, Cerveza's hot.
I'm rolling. The conviction bets were good this week. Liberty, I took them on the money line. I took them with the points. I had a good time with those.
I feel like the sneaky segment on the show is a conviction segment.
Yeah,
we have some pretty good.
I was way better on conviction than on my other picks.
There's no pressure.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Right,
it's just stuff that you can. It's just stuff that you can throw and have some fun with. All right, we're gonna slide on. I've got something to talk about, and you guys know what's coming. Guys, there is a bandwagon right now. There's a wagon that's so on fire. The message boards are ready to fire everybody. They're ready to crash the entire project, the entire team, the entire, just everything. Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher. If you were keeping track, Jimbo Fisher now has 2 more losses than Kevin Sumlin does at the time in which these are being played. So it is Jimbo's down 2 games right now. A&M just looks pathetic, man. A&M looks terrible. I don't know. Like, I just think you just throw the rest of the season in the trash and probably throw Jimbo in the trash too, but which booster's going to pick up that $100 million that he's still owed? That's the real question here.
And one of the questions is, if Jimbo can't do it, who can? I mean, that guy's a good football coach, or not, or were we all wrong? And they just played in the ACC.
Certainly a good recruiter.
I think he is, but he also hadn't changed in 10 years, right? That's his biggest issue out of everything, is he has not adapted to the game. He gets the players, but he needs to give up the play calling and get somebody in there that will run an offense that can keep up.
I mean,
short a quarterback.
Oh God, Haynes King, tragic. The Ole Miss, the LSU transfer, tragic. I mean, you really let Spencer Rattler beat you. Like, that's all that I have to say.
Your boy,
Spencer Rattler. Which, by the way, the South Carolina Gamecocks, I've talked so much shit about them all year. They're 5-2.
5-2. Man.
Let's go ahead and transition. That was going to be my team I was going to throw on the bandwagon tonight.
There we go.
And listen, I'm not saying they're going to go through and they're going to knock off Clemson this year or anything like that. I just think like they deserve a little respect this year for what they're doing. They have a couple nice wins. They're playing pretty well, and they have fun. Listen, say what you will about some of the antics that Beamer pulls off down there, but the guys love them. They play for them, and Columbia is not the most exciting town to live in, but they have a great atmosphere on game days, right? So they have something going down there, and look, they get to bowl games, they can get 8 wins. It's a great year for them, and like they're not going to be I don't think they'll recreate the Spurrier days, right? But I think like they have a team that can at least win some games and they're competing. So listen, it is. Look, I know this is like the anti-Clemson show tonight, but
is this happening? South Carolina, like how?
I'm not. Listen, I'm not on the band the same way. Just the same way I was on the James Madison bandwagon like 3 weeks back. Like not in terms of I think they're a team that's going to compete for the East, but I like what they're doing and they're heading the right direction.
I just got to know how they're 5-2 when Rattler's thrown for 1,400 yards, 8 interceptions, and 5 touchdowns. Like it blows my mind.
He's bunched the interceptions. He's had multiple games with 3 interceptions. So you just get those out of the way in the losses. You go minimize them.
As much crap as we talked about him and the team, I figured they were like 3-4 or something, and then I looked up their record today. And then I looked up something else and saw a number next to their name. I was like, "What is going on here?"
They just keep winning. It's disgusting. Like I don't understand it.
Yeah, and they're not bad wins either. I mean, A&M is what it is, and Kentucky. I mean, those are 2 pretty good wins back to back. I know they got throttled by Georgia, but you'd expect that. So they've won a couple they probably shouldn't have at this point. Like if you'd gone into the season and said, "Hey, you're going to be 5-2 right now, wins over Kentucky and A&M," they would have signed up for that all day. So give them credit. They have a couple winnable games down the stretch, and who knows what they'll do, but. All that said, like I just think they're in the right direction. They deserve a little love tonight, so I'm giving it to them.
You know what? They can have their flowers. This is disgusting. I'm sick right now.
Man, well, it's like it makes me not even want to jump into my team with the peanut gallery we have here. Is Louisiana State University?
Got him too. That's my squad too this week.
Yeah, man. They're starting to pull it together. You talk about a team improving over time. There's Frames Janklin. And then right beneath that's Brian Kelly for coaches that I just disrespect. And Brian Kelly is a hell of a coach and is just a terrible human being, but he can coach, man. And I think he's starting to put it together. Like I said, and like Spence said, I don't think LSU is going to the playoff, but I think they're 8 or 9 win team coming into the year. I felt like it was going to be an absolute train wreck of a 2 or 3 win season. So they have my respects for where they are right now.
And so I think I had the same thing. I had LSU as well. And I think, all the chirping we're hearing, it's like, we're at the point of the season where it's like, what bandwagon are we going to jump on? Ohio State, Georgia? It's like, where do we find the teams that are showing us something with maybe not enough left to play for? Although, I mean, like you said, LSU does have their own destiny in their hands. But next 4, Bama at Arkansas, UAB at A&M. Vegas had them as a 6.5 win team this year. That was where the over-under was. Too high to go under and too low to go over. And or the flip of that. And if they win 9 games, isn't that way over what anybody thought coming in? So Jane Daniels is playing like, honestly, Arizona State fans expected 4 years ago. And it's in Baton Rouge next weekend. Anything can happen.
Look, if Chat wants an ACC team to throw in here, I'll throw one in here. How about Miami? I'm getting off the Miami bandwagon. Miami is absolute garbage. It's amazing how bad they've gotten in that game. I mean, eight turnovers against Duke. It was just an ugly game to watch. Not much offense on either side, and to get blown out by Duke. And credit Duke, they've done some really good things. We talked about that atmosphere they put together. Elko's doing some things, but man, Miami is I don't know what to say. It's bad. It's probably worse than anybody thought it would be down there. And that's the program that right now I just don't see, unless they can get the NIL money going down there. I don't see where they're going at this point. And they're a team that could get left behind if in all of this this conference realignment. I know Miami's still got a pretty good brand, but they could kind of fall through the cracks if things shift without them, because they've been bad for a while and they don't show a whole lot of signs of getting any better, because kids are going out of South Florida left and right everywhere else but there right now, and there's just nothing to hang their hat on at this point. Now Van Dyke's out for the year too, so
let's not forget that I had Miami as
an ACC championship team.
Well, ACC is wild.
Never
enough.
forget.
Maybe I can shake that out.
What's crazy is my computer hated me for saying it because it pulled the thing out of my ear. But The brand's crumbling. The fans are terrible. Yeah, it's
2 for 2 there.
Yeah, you're kind of spot on, Casey.
What do you got, Cerveza? You got anything this week?
Well, I just had LSU.
Okay.
But I just want to get sad, guys. I'm ready to get sad.
Yeah.
Ooh, are you?
Sad.
Yeah, why not?
Are you ready to get sad? Let's get sad, baby.
I mean, and I want to know, I don't go to clubs, but like sometimes I got the house music going. Like I need to get those beats. Hey, I think it's harder and harder to stay sad, because how many times can you rip on a team that's won one game when we're 7-8 weeks in? But let's just go around the horn. DeCatro, you said you had something for us?
I do. Oh, man. Casey, get ready. Get ready, Casey. Stretch it out.
Clemson rushing the field this week was sad.
What's the deal with Clemson rushing the field? Why? Why are y'all rushing the field? Because you won by 3 points. That is sad. It's sad. It's sad.
Tradition,
you are the number
man.
5
tradition
team, yeah.
They say it's a tradition, but it's like, why? Why is that a tradition? You have teams getting fined for that in the SEC. Literally, you have schools getting fined for that in the SEC. But in the ACC, oh, it's all fun and games over here. You can rush the field. Come on,
the
man.
SEC doesn't even play 9 conference games, so.
So do they not have a that's a good question, because I knew that was a tradition after wins, but like, do they prepay that penalty at the start of the year, or like how does that work? They just don't have one in the ACC?
I don't think the ACC has one. Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
Is it just the students that rush it? And like, I mean, I know back in the day, at UT, we'd get on the field eventually, but I don't think we were like running on the field the first, right at the final bell. We could go play on the field afterwards.
By the way, Casey, I just want to throw a little bit more dirt in your wound today. Death Valley still resides in Baton Rouge. So,
man, don't push Casey away. This is a brutal. Guys got an undefeated team right now. Was feeling good before tonight's show.
I feel like, Casey, either can you get us like a 3 to 4 page paper on telling us more about gathering at the PA, or maybe like send in a little video and we can show the rest of the world? Because I didn't even know that till an hour ago.
I didn't either, and that was the thing. That's why when I sent that in our group this week, when I was like, Clemson rushing the field is sad, I'm like, why are they rushing the field? I had no idea there was a thing called gathering at the PA. Like, bro, Clemson's only been good for a couple of years. Like, excuse me for not knowing.
Oh man. But all right, so my here's my sad is like Spen just said, the Miami Hurricanes, man. 8 turnovers. This Duke team, sure, they're improved. You're Miami. You're the U. You had pretty high expectations coming in. You spend all this money to get Cristobal. You spent all this money on the coaching staff, from the second highest paid coaching staff in the ACC, behind Clemson, who has won multiple national championships. I mean, like Spen said, you used to be 80s, 90s, 2000. You throw a rock, you hit a 5-star in Miami, they're already committed to the U. What's going on? They announced 57,000 people in attendance at that game. Did anybody watch any clip from that game? There were 300 people at that game.
Like, they announced 57K?
That's what they announced for the attendance there. So it's just, come on, man. That's just sad.
I'm not adding anything else, Cerveza. Miami was going to be one I went off. I mean, the Mountain West is still my sad, but I do love them because they got a real soft spot for them when it comes to betting against them on Saturdays. So the round robin continues this weekend. We got a couple we'll talk about later on. The round robin of awful teams will continue on, but I don't want to get into it too much right now.
We got a little cup half full. We got a cup half full from Spin turning that sad into glad. I just got a few. Honestly, we've kind of ripped through a lot of this, but I just want to talk about the poor Aggies. I mean, sad. We've said it. Spencer Rattler was 12 for 25. He threw for 168 yards. South Carolina didn't even get 300 yards, and the Aggies outgained them by 112 yards, and they lose. And I was going to go back. I don't even think they ever led. Then we got their players getting high in the boys' room, if you will. and I've seen conflicting reports if they were smoking that pen before the game or after the game. I mean, the best team that money can buy is just a sinking ship. And then I was going to say, I don't look now. South Carolina's 5-2, 4 in a row. We already saw all that. But from just about an hour and a half from here, poor Aggies. That's sad. We're going to stay close to home for me. And I can sit here and I can talk about ASU's just pathetic performance, but I won't. I'll talk about the Stanford home crowd. And we can just lump this into West Coast college football crowds. There is a picture, Catro, if you can find it, there's a picture from the Stanford press box. And it's when the team is running out of the field. And I went to Arizona State. I can't count that high. But I bet somebody that went to more of a university than me could just take their finger and count. I bet I don't even know if you could count 1,000 people. I mean, it was that putrid. Stanford's got 14 wins in the last 4 years. We got across the bay, we got Marshawn Lynch cussing on TV about how embarrassing it is that Cal can't get people go to their
here
game.
we go. Hold on, I got you.
That was amazing. That Marshawn Lynch clip was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like it's almost like I mean,
that wasn't good either.
Listen, I'd be surprised to see pictures that didn't look like that in a lot of these Pac-12 stadiums right now. Like, it seems like that's pretty common for some of those lower level teams that they just can't draw any attendance anymore. But Stanford should have a little more pride because they're a great athletic tradition.
I think there was more people in the line to get the players running out than there were in the crowd that we could see right there. And I mean, Stanford, it's not that long ago that the same coach had Heisman Trophy capable, should have won it twice running backs. So Marshawn Lynch is talking about how Cal can't draw. UCLA, I mean, they better make the Rose Bowl if they want to get more than 30,000 people in the Rose Bowl this year for them. Stanford, if you buy your tickets early for next year, you get the rest of this season free, which I don't know how that's a good deal by any stretch of the imagination. And then on the flip side of that, I saw a video yesterday of the Wisconsin women's volleyball game. Did y'all see this? It was packed. I mean, it had to be in like their basketball
arena.
You
know why, right?
It was in the Kohl Center.
You don't know why the Wisconsin volleyball? You don't know the story behind that?
I'm sitting here looking at Stanford's 70 fans. I don't have time to research all that.
All right, so real quick, this is going to be short. Do your own research. The Wisconsin women's volleyball team, after a victory, got nude on Snapchat during a celebration. So that is why that stadium was packed. I mean, it's really not hard to find. Real quick, though, I would like to point out that they said that Stanford's attendance this week was 25,000.
Nope. There you go, man. The same Miami guy was doing that counting.
And somebody was like, that stadium holds 50,000. There's definitely less than half the people there. So there's no way it's 25,000. But anyways, I don't care what it takes to pack the stands. I don't know if these Stanford players need to get naked so a whole bunch of people come and check that out. I'm not sure how that is. But right now, West Coast football, I'm sure aside from Oregon, and if you even count Utah as West Coast football, and I'd be surprised to see USC's crowds as well. But very sad. And then lastly, let's get right deep in the heart of Texas. Let's go back to Austin. Let's talk about Sarkisian leaving before the eyes of Texas. He apologized. I'm sure it does happen. But, if you're a coach of any school, you're staying on the field and you're singing, you're singing the fight song or the alma mater or whatever you sing after the game. He left, so a bunch of the players left. I've been going to UT games since I was young. I mean, save for the last decade. I've left 2 games early, and it was when they were losing to UCLA 66-3, and then a game they were down 3 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter against Nebraska. It was super hot. And then Jamal Charles had 200-something yards. They came back. They won the game. I'm in a taxi cab when they're doing this. And just for the head coach of one of the biggest programs in the country, whether they're winning or not, to not stick around, that is very sad. Texas, that's their 5th blown double-digit lead in the last 2 years. So that also just brings more to this conversation about Texas, where it's not like they're just pure garbage. They're getting up, they're scoring points, and then they're letting it go. So they're finding every way to lose. And all of that from Austin to College Station to the West Coast was sad.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that about Sarkisian. That's
Yeah.
Not a good look. Yeah.
Yeah, and he apologized. Things happen. You get upset, but you gotta.
I mean, if it's that big of a tradition, I think the boosters are gonna like that.
I mean, but isn't that? I mean, shouldn't that be the tradition that literally every school, everywhere? That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Have some pride in the work you put on the field, even if you're Colorado State.
Plus, it's cool song.
Yeah,
it is. It was such a cool song that they tried to get rid of it 2 years ago because they said that it was partially racist. So there's that. Do you have any more sads? You good on sads?
I'm all sadded out.
I'm sadded out. All right, let's move on. Where's my next button at? I can't find it. I hate these buttons, guys. Where is it at? Here it is. Oh, by the way,
man,
I didn't bring the mods on you. I was just telling you to search on Twitter. I just didn't want to announce it. So Nightmare covers. This is where y'all shine.
I'm sure we all have the same one on this one, right? For Cervase's boys. I mean, that one.
Oh, that was pretty. I've got a different bin to that, but yeah.
Man, I mean, just how do you feel like? Do you feel like that was called fairly?
The out of bounds at the end, or
yeah.
Oh, he was out of bounds. I mean, amazing catch. What an amazing catch. It was more just you can't take that sack on 1st and 10 in field goal range. It's just like Texas, where we had 14 points. We're up 14-6 at halftime, and then you just lose to a team that kicks 5 field goals. And it's bad coaching, bad play calling. Our head coach in waiting is really smart. He's actually going to take over play calling duties because, hey, if you show somebody something, maybe you can get an OC job. It's actually, to me, I was like, that's genius for Iguano.
Man, it was just brutal. I felt really good about that, especially down the stretch. That was another game that I'm sure you and me, Cervase, are one of the few people watching on there. No offense, it's just a brutal game, but I felt good about it, man. And I don't know, I got absolutely out of my seat again in my tuxedo, excited about that play down the sidelines and just getting called out. Anyway. That's
amazing catch. Amazing catch out of bounds. It was well done. And the saddest thing about it, or the sad thing about it for me, I told you I'm in that fund. Well, the guy typically bets ASU when the number's right. He's rarely going against ASU. He's normally on ASU if he's playing the game. And he's on Stanford. And, my buddy and I are like, I don't see it. I don't care if you bet against us. Money's green.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. And then to not win and you don't get the cover on the other side on a short line, 2.5. I mean, that's, it was just a huge kick in the nuts. So I thought we were done being sad, and then I forgot the next segment was this. But the other two I had was short ones at Georgia State and UAB. I had both of them. They were both dogs. They both got out the double-digit leads. They both only scored one more time, and neither of them covered. But the big nightmare was Cincinnati. Not the over/under, just the points. I think I had them at 3 and 3.5. They got 15 penalties or 14 or 15 penalties. They're up 29-14 going into the fourth quarter. On the last SMU drive, there's a roughing the passer on 3rd down after completion, so tack on 15 more. And then a pass interference takes away an interception. And the sad thing about that was the SMU guy had kind of overrun the ball. And the defender, I thought it was a pretty bad call because I don't think he pushed him, but it looked really bad. Because the guy had already overrun the ball and he picked it off, and they, overturn it, goes back to him inside the red zone. Another, half the distance to the goal penalty. SMU scores, lose by, they'll win by 2, 29-27. And that was a sucky way to end that game.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't have anything else to add. I was still hung up on the Washington game. Just beat me down pretty good. The other losses I took were convincing losses, so I don't have to sweat them out too much.
So nothing crazy this week, huh? Just it is what it is.
Yeah.
Before you said that, it sounded like a great winning week for you.
No, there was a few wins, but overall there were some bad. It wasn't my favorite week, top to bottom.
Man.
So. But you get back on the worst.
I bet heavy on the Alabama points or team total over, man. That was.
Yeah, that was
thought
frustrating.
They were gonna get there. I thought they were going to smoke it.
Of all the fun weeks, that we've had so far, and he's been crushing it. 4 units here, 5 units here. This was our worst week. It was like down 3 units or something like that. So it's just maybe a tough week all around.
Yeah, man, it gets hard. This time of the season gets hard because obviously some teams kind of check out, right? You have injuries that you have to be on top of because you don't know who's playing, who's kind of banged up, who's nicked up. You got transfers now, like the portal's open, guys are leaving the teams. Like it's tough at this time of the year to try to stay on top of it. Yeah. So I usually just try to stick to the teams that I know already so I can kind of get on top of the news quickly. But yeah, this week
this is Vegas' second most profitable weekend of the year. Fun fact.
Good for Vegas.
It was or it is? It was?
It was.
Okay. Yeah. And on that note, boom! Top 25. I can't believe South Carolina's in the top 25. I honestly hadn't. Usually I type the top 25 out and I have a little banner running at the bottom. I didn't do it this week. I'm, whatever. South Carolina being at 25. Unbelievable. Shout out to Tulane moving up 2 places.
Yeah.
Green LSU hopping back in at 18. Kind of wild.
How about LSU, man?
Yeah. I mean, hey, good for them. Syracuse, hey.
Let me ask you this. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
You mentioned Syracuse, and this will be one at least Shane and Casey would be on board for. I after this week played out, I don't know how Ole Miss is higher than Syracuse, just based on what we saw. Right, I know maybe they have a few better wins course of this season, but to get drilled against LSU and then Syracuse goes into Clemson and has them beat. And can walk out of there. I don't know how Clemson, I don't know why. I don't see there's 11 places of separation between the two, and so I'd flip flop those two. So there you go. There's ACC love for you tonight.
Hey, there we go. I like it. Hey, ACC love all up in here. Wake, look at that, man, cruising their way up. Shane wanted to call out they're tied for 10th. So hey, at least however you want to put it on the footstep there.
Fix the graphic. Yeah. I'm sorry, Shane. Next time we'll have 10 and 10 instead of 10 and 11. So that way you guys get your respect. You're a top 10 team this week.
So TCU and all like Cerveza said earlier, all the credit in the world, you're undefeated. That's all that matters right now. But how many times can they keep playing with fire? Because yes, their offense is when it goes, it's like Tennessee's. It's just when it goes off, it goes off. But can they keep kind of putting themselves in a bad spot? I'm a huge believer. I think they're great. I just feel like they got to stop playing with their food so much.
That's just how the Big 12 is going to be. And I will say, I did hear that they made EJ, who is the graphics guy, they made him the deciding vote. And he actually voted for USC over Wake Forest. So that's why it got there. It makes a lot of sense, and I support him in that. But, this is one of the first times where, you look at – I was complaining, obviously, early in the season, and it's like I could kind of see where that top 10 – and, let's throw Wake Forest in there, that top 11. There's kind of like a line of demarcation in there from everybody below it, where I'm finally kind of starting to see a split there. Maybe they're not up there with the top, 3 teams, 4 teams, but – I don't argue with any of those, and I see where any of them could be that 4th or 5th team with a little more time left. And I went back to my rankings. First, I want to apologize to Syracuse. I left them off of the undefeated teams last week. But for undefeated teams this week, I've got Tennessee still at the top.
Sexy.
Yeah, super sexy and super serious. People forget. Tennessee and Georgia staying 1 and 2. I did move Ohio State because I thought they just absolutely bludgeoned a team that had been slowing down all sorts of everybody. TCU, I slipped them past Clemson just because maybe they're just more exciting. And I just feel like they've got a little more gas than Clemson typically does. And then Michigan, I think them not playing, they actually stuck in 6. Ole Miss dropped out. Ohio State jumped up. But I think, Michigan not playing kind of, I forgot about them.
There you go.
All right. So go ahead, Ben. I feel like
I was just going to say, the bottom, I can't lump them all in because I think North Carolina is pretty good. Kansas State's pretty good, but those last 3 teams that snuck in there, it's like they're okay, but I don't know. I just don't feel like
Well,
they
it's
have
like
the
a revolving
firepower.
door, right? Like at that.
Yeah,
Tulane back-to-back weeks in the top 25, though. They moved up 2 spots this
it's
week.
a great story, but yeah, it is. I don't know.
All right, so here's my question. All right, so next week we get the first official college football rankings. 1 through 6. Do you think that the AP has it right now? Do you think that anybody else should be in that top 6 that's outside, like your Oregon, your TCU? And go.
Man, I don't know if it's hard to say if they have it right. It's hard to say how the committee will vote. I do think that all things considered, if every team had the same record right now as them, I think the committee would put Tennessee at 1, or at least very strongly consider it based on their resume. Ohio State has, as many people have mentioned, gotten the benefit of not really playing a whole lot along the way, but they have nuked everyone that played outside of Notre Dame, so they've looked the part. The rest of it, I think it's going to be a shuffling of the deck, until down the line. I think Georgia and Tennessee would be 1 or 2, and I think if the committee came out today.
Yeah, I think
here's a question. Go ahead.
I think he flipped Tennessee, Ohio State, and probably flipped Clemson and Michigan.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Maybe Ohio State after this week, if they do win over Penn State, we'll maybe keep them ahead of Tennessee. But I think Tennessee's got just a better resume right now. And I think Clemson, same thing. I think they have a better resume than Michigan right now.
Yeah.
Overall, if that's what the committee values, then I think they'll flip flop.
So here's the question: if TCU's got 4 ranked wins, and I mean, if Michigan and Clemson didn't start in the top 5, would they be ahead? If they did what I think everybody should do, and you don't even make a ranking until week 6, would TCU be ahead of those guys? I'm kind of leaving Alabama out of this, but
I think the answer to that question is yes.
Michigan's got they beat Penn State. Has Michigan done anything else? They've looked good.
Yeah, and it comes down to 2 things too. And like when you look at voters and like especially the committee, it's like they give themselves 20 criteria that they can like always have a fallback to. But it's like, are they looking at resume? Are they looking at eyeball? Are they looking at projection? I mean, they're supposed to look at all these crazy things, but definitely resume based TCU is a top 4 team.
I don't know if they deserve to be there, but it was just interesting looking at it where it's like, they're only 7th because they started unranked or 18 or whatever they were to start the year. Well, this is their sign. If you were curious, you can just do this.
There we go.
But again, it all takes care of itself. It always does. But they are kind of behind the 8 ball, like just in terms of just the tiebreaker at this point, being that they started lower, right? So things will shake out, probably against TCU at some point. But I think they deserve to be in that conversation a little bit more. And I mean, do I think they're a better team than Alabama? No. Can you make the argument maybe they should be ahead of them because they're undefeated with that record? Probably, but also when you look at, I know the whole argument of wins versus losses, but the loss on the road, to a Tennessee team that you argue is number 1 in the country right now, that they had them beat and just missed the field goal and gave it up. Is that more valuable than the wins? I don't know. It's hard to say, but TCU could definitely be in that conversation right now. It would be a fair discussion.
How are you not saying a team with these jerseys that they're rocking this weekend is not the number 1 team in the country?
I am saying that. It's right there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Honestly, the only thing that
super sexy, super
the only
serious
thing that I think that I'd shake up is take Clemson out of the top 6 and put TCU in.
I think Casey went to go get a beer, so he might have missed that.
Yeah, Casey might have missed that. If Casey didn't miss that, I'll be waiting for Casey on that.
The most poetic Big 12 thing ever would be TCU losing by a field goal to Iowa State on the last play of the game. And I'd say, I guarantee you that's what's going to happen, but that could happen against Tech, Texas, or Baylor as well.
No,
or the Big 12 championship game too.
Exactly.
One of the crazy. It's going to happen. It's going to probably happen somewhere, and it's happened at TCU. Like TCU's been screwed in the playoffs before.
That's right.
They have one of the biggest gripes of all time, but they've got a chance. But look, this weekend will kind of start the madness. but we'll see. Let's have this discussion in 3 weeks, maybe.
Yep.
Okay, we're calling it right now. Oklahoma State's going to beat TCU in the Big 12 championship game. They're going to sneak into the playoff. How about that?
Wow.
Let's do it.
Stop it. You got to get you
Man,
just
you're
put
a
that
big
off,
Pokes guy.
Jigga. Let's save that for later, because a team that's given up 550 yards offense, I'd love to see them in the playoffs against whoever.
Well, this is what's great. This is what's great. Is if it
hammer.
happens, we'll be able to go back to it. And if it doesn't, we'll have all forgotten about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
I highly recommending throwing things out like
My man.
that all the time.
There we go.
Yeah, no. All right, let's roll on out. Nap time and cooking on my new griddle. That's on the radar for me on Saturday.
Ooh, a new griddle, nice.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I seasoned it last night. You know, it's ready to rock and roll. My daughter wanted me to make pancakes tonight, but I gave her a hard pass on that. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So
I'll be there for the pancakes.
Hey, come on. I make great pancakes. So, yeah.
I'd say on my radar really this weekend is just conference race matchups, right? There's some good ones at the top, just some good matchups at the top we'll talk about later in our picks that I'll probably miss 75% of. But the standings right now, there's some interesting games that are out there this weekend. There's some great races, right? So like that's kind of where like my attention will focus on some of those games, like UNC Pitt, a great game that's going to probably go a long way to determine who gets out of that division. If UNC wins, they're in a great shape to make it to the ACC championship. If they lose, then they'll be, it brings that group a lot tighter and leaves a lot of teams in the mix on that side. Same thing with the Big 12, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, huge game for that race, right? Another one that's going to be a lot of fun to kind of keep an eye on. And then Pac-12, a couple good matchups up there as well. So I think overall, just kind of watching some of these conference races shake out a little bit. And I think this week's kind of the first kind of moving week for some of these teams that want to make a conference championship push, but you got to survive this weekend.
Starting with that, first teams I've got on there are Cincy and UCF, second and third teams in the American right now, right behind Tulane. So that'll be good for that pecking order. This doesn't really have anything to do with the top of the rankings, but I think Baylor versus Texas Tech just might be a fun game. Couple of 4-3 teams. I think there's just going to be a lot of points in that. And then this could be disgusting, but it was a line that kind of confused me. And Notre Dame had their maybe first, second, and third first quarter touchdowns last week, but Cuse is at home hosting Notre Dame. Cuse is 5-1 against the spread, and they're favored by 2.5, which means Vegas either thinks they're an equal team, or if you don't even get the full 2.5 for the Carrier Dome, that means they think Notre Dame is the better team. So to me, that'll just be interesting to see. As Notre Dame just up and down, are they not good? Is Cuse good? Are they going to be able to recover from last week?
I have thoughts on that game in a little bit.
Fun. Okay, I think it'll be an interesting game just to see where everybody's at. See how Cuse can bounce back after a tough loss.
I agree with that. I left one off. Illinois, Nebraska, another one in the Big Ten that Nebraska somehow they have a chance still to win that division. I don't think they will.
Everyone does out there. Everyone does.
It's the Casey Thompson show. It's Casey Thompson, baby. He's playing good up there in Nebraska.
And it's a bad division. That plays into it a little bit too. 100%,
it's a bad division.
But Illinois, if they can survive Nebraska. I don't want to watch that Big Ten championship game. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't have a lot of interest in Illinois versus whoever comes out of the other side. But that's another one that's going to be really interesting.
No.
Yeah. So kind of kicking off couple things on my radar here. First one is the Pac-12. Spen kind of talked on that a little bit. A couple interesting games out west. Can someone from the Pac-12 emerge and head to the playoff, or at least be knocking on the door at 5 or 6? I think the next few weeks are going to go a long ways towards that. They've earned more of my respect, kind of at the top. I would say the past 2 or 3 weeks. It is very top-heavy conferences. Most of them are, but it's interesting to see what goes on down the stretch there. Out west. Of course, second one on my radar there are my boys in blue taking on the Michigan State Spartans this weekend. A couple interesting facts and trends for you to let you know how much pain this series has cost me in my adult life. So, Michigan, of course, dominates the series traditionally almost every decade outside of the 50s, the aberration when Michigan State was good. And then from 2010 to about 2014, 15, again, randomly Michigan State was good in a down Big Ten. State has won the last 10 of 14,
Wow.
which is insane. Like, if you don't super follow the Big Ten or know much about it, and Michigan's a team people like to dislike, so you can have that part of it too. But is that not a crazy stat? I've lived through that, and I can't believe how much they've dominated the series.
I had no clue when you just said that. Like, I didn't realize it was 10 out of 14. That's
so
insane.
Yeah. So that's through, obviously, some horrific Michigan teams are included in that. The Rich Rod teams, the Brady Hokiers. But Harbaugh is only 3-4 against Michigan State. We've lost some really weird, heartbreaking games. All that to say is tune in for this game. It's at least pop over to it and check it out periodically. It's always ripe to ruin a Michigan year. It's one of those where State just has that dog in them. They just figure out somehow, some way to muck up a game. If you look back to Harbaugh's losses to State, the fumbled punt, most famously.
I was about to ask about that.
That game was won and it was in hand. All you have to do is punt it away, trouble with the snap. And again, instead of just falling on it, game still is over. He decides to swing it over his head, carried. Jalen Watts Jackson runs to the end zone as time expires. 2017, absolute monsoon. Now, it turned out both teams sucked in 2017. But, big monsoon. The game plan, that offense coordinator, who's no longer with Michigan, dialed up a purely pass game and just went down the drain. 2020, Michigan was favored by 24 points, similar to this weekend. And I'm sure no one watched that game. It was in the middle of COVID, and lost 28-21. That was Joe Milton's last starter as a Michigan Wolverine before he headed on down to Knoxville. And then last year, of course, 2021, Walker just goes for 5 touchdowns, and the defense just forgets their heads, and he single-handedly wills them. So, long story short, game doesn't seem like it'd be a good one. Watch it if you want to, because it'll be close, because that's just the way these games are.
So, got a couple questions for you. Obviously, Ohio State's the number one rival, right? So, and if I'm wrong, tell me. But it's kind of like thinking about Texas and A&M and OU. It's like, okay, how much under Ohio State is Michigan State? And then, is there anybody else even in your realm of hatred over there?
Yeah, so it's a weird dynamic for me personally. I can't speak for the entire Michigan fan base.
We're going to need you to speak for the entire Michigan fan base, please.
All right. So for the entire Michigan fan base, of course, Ohio State is, if we're on a scale of 1 to 100, Ohio State's 100. Michigan State's probably 70, maybe. So they're a few steps back. My personal experience has been, since really, some of my favorite games which I can touch on in the second areas, but State has just dominated the series against bad Michigan teams, against good Michigan teams. Always like an inferior product in terms of talent, but they always find a way to muck it up. So I really, really don't like them. They drive me nuts. It's kind of like Mike Hart said, the little brother. That's how it feels. But Notre Dame would be another school I really hate, and how Michigan fans hate that. That would say the 3 traditional rivalries that they care about would be Ohio State, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and then to an extremely minor degree, Minnesota. Battle for the Little Brown Jug trophy game. Michigan's dominated that to the tune of an 80% win percentage, so we don't really care about it.
Would you most hated Michigan State player?
So there's Plaxico Burress. He just in 1999, that Michigan team, fresh off a national championship, was prepared to contend again. Ultimately, finished the year in the top 5. Plaxico Burress sets the Michigan State receiving record, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, just Nick Saban-led team. I know Spen loves having him down that way. Completely outclassed us. So Plaxico Burress, I hate that guy.
Do you have a least hated player, like a guy that you're like, I hate this guy, but I kind of like, maybe something happened in the pro years or
yeah. I guess the least hated would have to be Kirk Cousins, because he's such a Melba toast, just person. Is very easy to dislike. He's just he exists. So I'd say Kirk Cousins is fine. He went 2-2 against us, so maybe that plays part of it too.
Okay. Any
You
questions
like
from
that?
you guys?
I just
Right.
I wish we get that Notre Dame series back. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a great game, but we haven't had it much. And we haven't had it since 19, and there's even some years that missed between that. So that's what I'd love to see back in the mix, like consistently. And I hope if we do go expanded playoffs, you have a reason to kind of reschedule these games, have these tougher matchups, and can afford a loss or two and not have to sweat it. So that's what I definitely want to see again.
Nelly, this kind of goes away from Michigan State specifically, but is there a favorite like Big Ten road game you like to go to? Could be Ohio State or Michigan State.
Well, so this fall, hopefully, I'll be alive for season 2 of the show here. But I'm going into Columbus, going into the Lions Den. So I'll be able to report back end of year here of how that goes. But favorite been to most of the conference is Wisconsin. I mean, up in Madison, they are so crazy nice. You know, the story I love to tell. This is in 2017. Game day was there. It was snowing through all of game day, snowing through the first quarter. My wife, UGA alum, got to meet David Pollock, so we talked to him for a little bit. That was cool.
Hell yeah.
We go into so I get tickets right on the side. I'm like, hey, I'm going to fly all the way up end of November to Madison. My wife's from Atlanta. If we're going to sit through the snow, let's get good seats. Sit right down, like 5 rows up at midfield.
Wow.
It's freezing. I've been in my bag. I've had a few to start the day. Watching Michigan football makes me drunk even if I'm sober anyways. So I'm all the way fired up. And this nice family is sitting next to me, and I'm just dog cussing Wisconsin. I'm just going wild. And there's this nice gentleman next to me, taps me on the shoulder. He's like, hey, this is just Wisconsin people. He's like, hey, I see your wife's cold next to you there. We have this blanket we brought with us if you want to wrap that around her. And so I had just said, who knows what string of profanities right in this man's face. And I was like, yeah, that's very nice. Thank you. So then we go on, make it to halftime. Michigan's losing in this game. I'm screaming, we're going to win. The players come by in front of us. I'm yelling at them. I'm going wild. Gentleman taps me on the shoulder again. He said, hey, sir, we're running in the concession stand at halftime. Would you and your wife like a hot chocolate? And I'm just these people just smacking you in the face with niceness while they're, and of course, Wisconsin isn't great now, but in that game, that was kind of the height of their powers of just pounding you and making you just shrink into a shell. So beautiful place to go. Great food, really cool downtown atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Love Wisconsin.
I've been there. I got tossed out of Essen House. Go ahead, Sven.
Did you really?
mean,
Bama has a home and home against Wisconsin starting in 2024. So it's on my list to try to get up there for that one in 2 years. It's I love the home and homes, and that's one obviously that I've heard about, know all about. So it's high up on my list.
Assuming it's early enough in the year, I've heard there's just great golf up in Wisconsin.
Yeah, September 14th. So week 2, I guess. Yeah.
There we go.
Grab the clubs. Let's settle in for a few days.
I'll be there.
Go.
Screw it.
Maybe the show will be there.
Anywhere.
Who knows?
Hey,
yeah, that's right.
I tried to get that to be a thing this year, but hey, it's okay though. We're all here. We're all locked in. You know what's crazy? If you look behind that jersey, I've got a brand new set of TaylorMade irons, drivers. That whole golf bag is brand new, and I've used it twice because it was just so damn
fresh.
It was so damn hot.
They got a lot of life left in them.
Holy cow! It was so hot. I had to take a seat and sit it out. So, Cerveza, I hear that you're about to unveil something for us. I hear you've got a new segment this week.
I think so. I promised the people that we'd all get to watch me get my first Hummer or enjoy my first Hummer right on KOD University. And in honor of Michigan State, we present to you Cerveza Serves, the state drink of Michigan.
What is up, KOD Universe? Cerveza here. I made y'all one promise before the season, and then that was that we were all gonna watch me enjoy my first Hummer on video. Now, I didn't know exactly what that meant. Apparently, it is the state drink of Michigan. I was just as surprised as you are. So this is the Hummer, made in the mid-60s Bayview Yacht Club in Detroit, Michigan. The reason we're making it this week, we got a big game. This is being filmed on a Saturday afternoon, beautiful Houston, Texas. You'll be seeing this on Wednesday. In a couple days, we got Michigan versus Michigan State. So no better time than right now to make the state drink of Michigan. All it takes, a little bit of light rum, a little bit of Kahlua. You need some ice cream. You need some ice. And let's get going. So it does call for 1 ounce of each, but I went to ASU, so 1 ounce is not enough. And we're gonna go with 1.5 ounces each. I also recommend, if your team is paying Mel Tucker $90 million over the next few years, to also just add a little bit more booze into your drink, because that's just too much money. So here we go. We got a couple ounces here of each in there. We're gonna take 2 scoops of ice cream. Really, I guess it's gonna be 4. And I will say, like, what is a scoop? I'm not a scientist. We're just gonna kind of make it up here. That looks like 2. Let's do 2 more. Now, the original drink does call for vanilla, but we're gonna go with buttered pecan. And when you're in Houston, Texas, Bluebell ice cream is the way to go. We're gonna drop all that in there. We're gonna take some ice. Some people said 2 ice cubes. I don't know. Let's take a bit more than that and dump that in there. And hey, we're ready to rock and roll. So you hit this up. I'm guessing that's good. You're gonna need more ice generally, but we don't have any. So here we go. Take a couple cool glasses. Pour it up. This is way too liquidy, but we'll see how delicious it tastes. Now, I checked the Constitution, and it did not say that you could not add some Ruddy Whip to it. So let's drop that on there. And hey, also in the Constitution, it doesn't say anything about cherries. Bree, would you like to come be my taste tester?
I'd love to.
We've got Sun Devil Bree here.
Yes, go Devils. This looks like a shot I used to take in college.
Yeah, so how about we cheers to anybody except for Herm Edwards? Cheers.
Cheers.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Hummer.
Delicious.
Can I start? I got so many thoughts.
Wow.
Go ahead.
That's awesome.
All right. Let me just kind of go in order by what I. So first off, is your kitchen always that clean? Beautiful kitchen. Is it always that clean, or did you straighten it
That
up?
is Sun Devil Bree's kitchen. My kitchen is less lit up.
Okay. Props. Is that your Lion's flask?
That is not. Actually, there was a guy with our ASU group, and I don't know if he's from there, but he totally randomly brought a Lion's flask. Totally random.
All right. It worked out perfect. All right. So third thought, love the Bluebell choice. Butter pecan, like it throws off the entire drink, doesn't like that. The whole drink tastes like butter pecan when you mix it up together like that. That's such a strong
you've got
flavor.
the Kahlua, so you've got the coffee kind of overwhelms it. And trust me, I did at least a little bit of research, and they're like, use this or that. And one thing that's cool, I did save an article, so if anybody wants any other recipes, I mean, they were like, this is how you make it with tequila and this type of ice cream. This is how you make it with whiskey and this type of ice cream. So you can really just use any type of ice cream. I mean, I was like, I wasn't going to buy mint chocolate chip, but you can use any type of booze, any type of ice cream. And later we made a batch and like put way more ice in it and blended it for much longer. And it came out, more in that milkshake consistency that it's supposed to.
Nice. It sounds good.
It's actually very delicious. We had a good time. We made a mess. It was fun and delicious.
Can we get more Sun Devil Bree?
She guest blogged on my blog. We can see about that. She's a proud Sun Devil. She knows her stuff.
Hey, find something.
I love it.
Absolutely.
It's so good. Nelly just was like, I got to bounce.
Nelly passed out.
Yeah.
He was so hyped up that he passed out.
Little tech problems there. Hey, love the vid there, Cervase, man. I love the Mel Tucker comments. Love the Hummer. Great drink. How'd you like
So
it?
now that we have the Hummer on
delicious.
video, the next step is obviously getting Doc to fire up the grill, show us a recipe or two on a Saturday. And then we're just going to start making this. It's going to be game day recipes, drinks, and food. Let's just go for it.
There we go.
You know what? I can do that, guys. Maybe I'll do some
good
jerky.
doctor. Multitasking, just cooking it up while we go.
No. Because I like to smoke. I like to smoke the meats. I'm not going to do anything boring like, potatoes and stuff like that. But maybe I'll do some jerky this weekend and record it, just something different. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll play with it.
Good video, though. Good video.
And thank you. In the vein of that, where's the national championship this year?
L.A.
I think.
LA.
Is it
Because
really?
I was going to say,
capital.
we've all got these beautiful golf clubs. And I think, the Knights of D-Gen, it's probably in the budget just to send us to cover the game. We'll take
There
our
we
clubs
go.
and we can all play out there together.
We'll
what
cover
I'm
the
thinking.
golf.
sounds
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
for
problem.
sure.
No problem.
Let's see.
Picacho, did you have anything to look forward to on the radar?
Honestly, no. There's a couple of decent games outside of it, but actually, like, my lock of the week is actually my on our radar game, like, personally for me. So I'll talk about that when we get to it. Just know it does have two teams that I've talked about a lot. So yeah, that's what I got there. All right, moving on quickly to I pushed the button twice. My bad. This week, like, I went through the list again a couple minutes ago, just kind of browsing through betting lines, and honestly, nothing's jumping out at me this week where it's like, some of my sneaky little bets that I've been, finding, nothing's really jumping off the table. So if you guys got something, go right ahead.
I mean, I got a lot. Well, y'all let me clean up here.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. Well, I'll jump in then. So last week, 2-0 my convictions. I don't know if anybody tailed on the Rutgers pick. Didn't look great in the first quarter. Looked bad at halftime. They got it done. And then looking at Penn State, that one was just a nuke from the beginning. Tanner Morgan was out. So shout out those boys. Got it done. This one I got two for you. So Notre Dame +2, getting points, starting to put it together. I know it's at the JW Marriott Dome or whatever it is up there in Syracuse now. But they're starting to put it together. If you look at the trends, like we talked about earlier, two teams going in the different directions. I might be on the other side of somebody else here, but I like that one. Other one is the Pitt Carolina over. This I like for two reasons, and both of them are in the Tar Heel sidelines. Looking at an unbelievable offense, top in passing, top in scoring, top in total. Matched up they're like the Detroit Lions of the ACC. They're dead last in every major defensive category: yards, points. This Pitt team will score enough to hit this over. It's 64. There's going to be points bonanzas. Most going to be by Carolina. I think they get it done, but it's just kind of one of those weird games. 64 isn't that hard to get to with how bad Carolina's defense is and how good their offense is.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Carolina game. I think I kind of like the -3, although this is still a spot that Mac Brown has kind of been has kind of fallen flat on. We'll see though, because as I think Shane was pointing out earlier, Dre May is a really, really good quarterback, and if Pitt doesn't put pressure on him, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country in the pocket. So it's going to be key for them. But Pitt's just trending in a bad direction right now, right?
Yeah.
Slovis hasn't been playing well. The team in general hasn't had it together. So huge opportunity here. It kind of surprised me the line was where it is. I mean,
yeah,
you got a Carolina team that's getting a little healthier too. On top of it all, they got some guys coming back. They're off a bye week. They have some things going for them in their favor. So to your point, I do like the over, but also like North Carolina. That was one I kind of had on my conviction list that was considering a lock this week on North Carolina at -3, but it's just it's a bit of a dangerous spot just because they've had that letdown. Their defense can give up so much, but I think they got a great chance to take care of business in this game.
Nice.
I'll throw out a couple more for you that I'm looking at. So that was one. Arkansas and Auburn. So again, Arkansas is another one that I considered making a lock this week. And I know Arkansas's got their problems defensively.
Yeah.
But Auburn don't have the passing game to exploit it, right? And I know that Auburn got this running game together a little bit against Ole Miss, but I think Ole Miss's rush defense isn't very good, right? I think it was more of a sign of Ole Miss things to come for Ole Miss maybe than it was Auburn kind of get it together. But I don't know if you guys have seen any the Auburn stuff this week. There was a report today that that sources were saying that Brian Harson's told players that you can't redshirt this year if you don't have a medical problem. like guys that are trying to save their eligibility for a year. He's like, either you play or you go to the portal. Like that was a report. He denied that today. So, who knows if there's a lot of truth to it, but that can't be a good
true,
sign,
though,
right?
Based
it
on
does, right?
that like comes out about him, like it sounds right.
Yeah, it's like a hard.
Well, if I was a coach,
sure,
I'd be
right?
saying the same thing.
Well, it's fair. Like, yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, but a couple more guys have left this year, and I think I saw the stat where half of his 2021 class is now no longer with the team. So not a great sign of things going on down there. I don't know how long they'll rally around him. So it's just it feels, again, it's like when Auburn goes off the rails, it just goes completely, right. And there's plenty of stuff that works inside of that program behind closed doors that you just don't know. So to me, I think Arkansas is just a little bit better team. KJ Jefferson's help. They're off a bye week too. So they needed a bye week. They needed to get healthy. Auburn, I think, is as well. But I think for them, KJ Jefferson can get their points. They're going to move the ball, and I think they can do enough defensively to shut down Auburn. But it's a game I think they could jump on them early. It's an earlier game. Might not be quite as crazy inside Jordan-Hare being a noon 11 o'clock kickoff, right? So they got a little bit of that going for them. I just think it's a game either Auburn wins or Arkansas wins by double digits, right? That's kind of the way I see it. And I lean Arkansas on that one. So I don't know if you guys have a different feel at all on that one.
Man, I certainly don't think if anyone has like watched Auburn this year would have any confidence, like you said to me earlier this year on a pick that was way out of line. Do you feel good taking that ticket up to that counter and putting money on the Auburn Tigers? And there's no way anybody could say yes to that.
Yeah, it's impossible right now. Although they did show some signs of life last game, so who knows? Another one I've got going back out to my Mountain West, my lovely Mountain West.
Here we go.
Boise State plays Colorado State, the one of the worst teams in college football. Boise's got it together. The only thing I think about this is if Boise just decides they're just going to sit on the ball. But I don't believe Colorado State's going to score. They might get a touchdown. I think their team total, like just doing the math based on what the odds are, I think their team total is going to be around like 7 or 7.5, maybe 8. So like they're not expected to score. It's projected to be like a 35-7 game. Essentially, is kind of what the numbers run. I think that Boise State's offense can kind of name their number playing on their blue field. Like, unless they just decide, hey, it's kind of, the only thing is it's kind of a trap game. I think they have BYU next week, which, not a huge opponent, but probably a bigger game for them out West. So maybe that's a bit of it kind of in between last week's game against Air Force, which was a tough game, a nice win they picked up. But Boise State's like quietly playing really well right now. And their defense is really, really good. And Colorado State, there's one thing they have, it's a bad defense and a bad offense. They got both. So like I just don't know how they'll score, and they might not score at all. So it's 27.5, so it's a lot. But I think it could easily be a 35-3 game, something in that route. So maybe you like the under a little bit. The only reason I don't like the under is because I think Boise, if they really wanted to, and if some things break their way, they could obviously get a defensive score. They could, have they could have a 21-point first quarter, and it wouldn't surprise me. So I lean away from the total because I just think Boise, if they have a really good game, could go over that by themselves with it being 42 and Colorado State being bad. So that was one other one was thinking about. And then I'll throw in a couple more that I'm don't love yet, but just the number doesn't look great. I think Nebraska getting 7.5 points seems like a lot. I know Illinois has been pretty good this year, but getting more than a touchdown, them having to lay more than a touchdown on the road. Nebraska's still feisty, and they still got a good home crowd, and you expect it to be a lower scoring game. So lower scoring games, obviously you expect it to be a closer game. So it just seems like a lot. And Nelly, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one, because to me that one stood out. Like I don't believe in Nebraska, but I just don't know that Illinois is good enough to go in and just take care of somebody in their own house right now.
No, I agree with that. I mean, Illinois is built to win in such an ugly way that it's hard for me to think they could beat anybody by more than a touchdown. They could end this year 10-2, but they just, play really sound football. They're going to punt from midfield. They're going to punt from year 40. Like it's going to be a grinding out ugly game. And Nebraska has shown a pulse since Scott Frost was let go. So I like that pick.
Okay. Another one, yeah, that's another one I like. And then a couple more Mountain West games. Like I'll be on the West Coast again. Just find myself there every Saturday night. It seems like depressed and playing the West Coast awful teams, but it's a lot of fun. San Diego State and Fresno State play. Fresno's a small favorite, and again, I've talked about Fresno was not very good without Hainer back, and I don't think he's back again. But Fife's been playing better. They have a running game that's been playing pretty well right now. And San Diego State, while their rush defense isn't awful, like they haven't really played anybody that has a pretty good rushing attack. So they give up 316 yards to Boise a couple weeks back. I think Fresno's playing a little bit better, kind of got it together, and San Diego State, just their offense is pretty bad right now. We talked about it. Burmeister moving out to receiver and a safety moving back to quarterback. And, the offense, as you could imagine, last week didn't put up a whole lot of numbers against the bad Nevada team. They did win the game. It was a nice win, but they're still not very good. So probably would fade San Diego State there. And then also, if you still like the West Coast stuff, Hawaii and Wyoming, again, it's a 50-point total. And I know Hawaii's defense is really bad, but it's starting to play a little bit better. And Wyoming just plays so slow. Now they might break 4 60-yard runs and kind of blow this thing open. It could be possible, but to me, it seems like a lot because I just feel like they'll slow Hawaii down. Hawaii just was completely inept in the second half against Colorado State last week after having a lead in a game that finished 17-14 or something. So another one that could be an underplay at one point.
Oh,
and hey, big ups to Colorado State.
Really?
Big ups to Colorado State. You can't win them all, but you can win 2 of them. That's for sure. I'm going to kind of go in and out of things I feel pretty good about and things just keep your eyes on. One number that jumped out at me, East Carolina plus 3.5 at BYU. BYU had to get smoked by Arkansas. Then they had to travel all the way across the country to get smoked by Liberty. Then they're coming back. East Carolina's had 2 games at home in a row. They beat UCF. And so, it might be tough going to BYU, but that's just a team I don't buy. So ECU's got the confidence going.
I was going to ask Spend on that one. So those are his boys.
Who, East Carolina?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad play. Like I think BYU's been a little banged up for a lot of the year too. ECU's a team that I don't know, man. They go like one game they look pretty good, and the next game is like I don't know, like they look pretty average. I like the pick though. Like if I was on a side, that's the side I'd be on. And I mean BYU last week because me and some buddies were on the team total of BYU over, and 14 points in the first quarter felt great, and then they didn't score the rest of the game. So I don't know what's going on with them right now. They're not playing a lot and not playing well, and they've been traveling a ton as you mentioned. So it could be a good spot for ECU.
Sorry, I'm with you on Cerveza. I love that pick, so I just want to hear.
Sweet. All right, y'all just keep piling on the lob the praise over here. UCLA at home minus 16.5 against Stanford. I just watched this Stanford team kick 5 field goals at home against Arizona State. UCLA's got a lot to play for. The Pac-12 this year, it's just the top 2 teams in the conference. Like the Big 12, I think, is doing it now. There's no North and South any longer. I just don't see how Stanford, if UCLA wants to, I don't see how Stanford plays anywhere near them in this game. And UCLA needs a bounce back, and they'll be playing from ahead. Oklahoma State, Kansas State over. It's over. The number's 56. Oklahoma State is 7th in the nation at 41.7 points per game. Maybe still a little banged up at wide receiver, but they're just going to keep scoring points. I would definitely wait and see if Adrian Martinez is coming back this week. I think he hurt his shoulder. The backup hurt their knee. Kansas State's a little banged up. We'll talk about that in a bit. But it's a Big 12 game, and they could fly over that number, very similar to last week. I think it was 54 for TCU, Kansas State. So I don't see any difference in that.
You go back to that I can't fault you for that, and especially with how bad Oklahoma State's defense has been. The question is quarterbacks, I think, like he pointed out. But I mean, the last 4 weeks in conference play, or the 4 weeks in conference play for Oklahoma State, 457, 527, 510, 523. Those are the offensive outputs. And Kansas State doesn't have an explosive offense, but they got some weapons that can make it work. And so, it seems like there should be some points scored.
Yeah, I mean they've been keeping up, and I mean they were beating the other teams as well. Let's stay in the Big 12. Baylor, Texas Tech over 62.5. Both teams are averaging 30 points per game, top 40 in the country in scoring. I expect that to just be a wild shootout. There's nothing else to do. I think that game's in Lubbock. Ole Miss, A&M under 55. Those games have been going under. I think the last 5 games went under. A&M is 105th in scoring. They're scoring barely 20 points per game. And both teams are top 40 in defense. Both teams allowing less than 24 points per game. So that under the 55 there. And then we were talking about the 7.5 points from Washington and Cal from last week. When I saw the TCU at West Virginia, TCU laying 7.5 on the road, I just had nightmares of that Washington Cal game. So I mean, it should be a number they should be able to cruise past. But obviously, you look at it and it just scares the pants off of you. And is TCU just going to take a week off after a couple comeback wins and something they think they can cruise on? So if they're resting on their laurels, maybe that is a sneaky West Virginia play. Although I wouldn't put my money there.
That's tough. It's in Morgantown, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man,
it's just spot. Like that Washington game. Yeah. Although what Tech just beat the pants off of West Virginia. So and they've been kind of up and down this year.
Yeah. All right. Is that it, Cerveza? I know you love your picks. Is that it?
That's all. That was just 4.
Hey, look, I tried to make sure. Look, we're heavy on that this week, so we're gonna keep it pushing. I've got something to say leading this off, all right? Something to say. Because this is something that I thought about and I should have brought it up earlier, but we're gonna switch it up. I absolutely loathe Big Noon kickoff. I hate it with a passion. Give it to any other conference. I hate it for the Big Ten because all year I thought this was a night game until last week. I thought this was going to be a Penn State at night, Halloween weekend whiteout. Like, if you recall the first show that we did, I called this to be the upset. I pegged this to be the spot where OSU
they used it last week against Minnesota.
Flops, and I'm just upset that this isn't a night game.
I'm with you 1,000%.
With that being said, though, I am still taking Penn State in 15.5 because I do still believe that there is a possibility that this could be that game. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, Frames Janklin doesn't do a lot of things well, but one of them is cover against Ohio State. It's 5 of the last 6 covers. Last 6 games have been decided by an average of 6 points. 15.5's a lot. Here's the thing is last week, now they didn't have to run, but they didn't run super well against Ohio State. Look at the flip side. Penn State has elite corners, all-American level corners. Kalen King, Joey Porter, they're first-round draft pick corners. Gives them a chance. They can slow them down enough, I think, to keep it competitive. And that's it's the one game a year James Franklin steps up and coaches a good game, puts a good game plan together. So he's going to keep it close. It's going to be competitive. Great corners. This will be intriguing. It should be fun. I agree with everyone. I wish that it were a night game like it's supposed to be.
I can't believe that you picked Penn State. I'm pretty shocked by that. But I'm with you. I got Penn State. For a lot of the same reasons that you had them down for. But like I even look back at the series, right? Even the stretch where Ohio State's been really good and dominated Penn State. They've only covered this number once. I think they've won 9 out of 10 or something like that. So all these series has been close. Last year's game was close. Penn State was in a good position to potentially win that game. And the matchup seems pretty good, and it's at Penn State. It just, would it surprise me if Ohio State scored 40 and covered this game? No, but I'll back Penn State this week and take the points.
So I'm with DiCaprio. I mean, this is the kind of game I would want to go to Penn State for. 7 o'clock kick, 6 o'clock kick, whatever it is on the East. With the wide out, I mean, up there with Tennessee of places I want to go and be. Like, if I go to a Penn State game, I'm going to a wide out. That's it. I'm not going to any other game to get there. This is going to be the week, guys. If y'all are going to try and catch me, it's going to start this week. I'm going to lay the points. Okay.
Wow.
I loved what I saw out of Ohio State last week. Yeah, they were playing Iowa, so I wasn't expecting it to kind of be close, but to put that many points on that great of a defense, I think they are cruising right now. I think that play Penn State, they left it all out on the field. Those fans left it all out in the stands. And I think the number is short enough where it's like, Ohio State's got a 7-point lead going into the fourth, a 10-point lead going into the fourth. Penn State has a pick six, 5 plays later, it's a 20-point game. And, I can dream as much as I want. So I'm going to take the points.
There you go.
Lay the points. Sorry, I'm going to lay the points, Ohio State.
There you go. Hey, I don't feel good about it because I agree with you. I think Ohio State could, if they decide to, nuke them, but I think they muck it up enough. We'll see. I hope it's a good game.
Which, by the way, we're talking about the comeback on Cerveza. I forgot to show this number earlier. But, that's a lot of comebacking to do for trying to come back to Cerveza. I'm just trying to hold on to the third spot over Sped. So
I still challenge that record.
I
haven't gone back and do the math, but I'm
that's
still
right. We got to review the film. We got to go
back.
Yeah,
no, for sure. All right.
Are y'all wagering a steed just to see who doesn't come in last or what?
No, but I feel like we should do something at this point just for fun.
We should have put some on the line, yeah.
We should have, honestly.
Let's just hey guys, let's not tell anybody, but winner gets $1,000. But yeah, we've all bet $1,000.
All right, Florida.
Let's see. So I don't, this game, it's traditionally a great game. It should be a pretty good game as well, but I don't know. Georgia, I just feel like they're going to respond, and they have responded after those two kind of close games there early in the season. Pretty nice efforts the last 2 weeks. Some time off. Both these teams have buys. I think Georgia's just a better team, and if they can frustrate Doc's boy enough in quarterback, then I think they should be able to move the football and score. So I've got them. Don't love it, but I just think they make a statement this week when everybody's kind of thinking about everybody's talking about Ohio State and Tennessee, and where's the love for Michigan and Clemson, and Georgia's still a really good team. And I think this week they can kind of prove it. And look at Florida. Look at Florida's schedule. I mean, they haven't really shown us a whole lot yet, right? At all. And they've been one of the worst. I think the record I heard was and I don't remember if this was before their last win or not, but they have the second worst record in SEC player the last 2 years, just ahead of Vanderbilt. So they've been bad. They haven't really shown me that they're much better this year at all. And I just think Georgia has a really good opportunity just to put it on them and just limit what they can do offensively.
Fun fact, this is the largest point spread in the entire history of this rivalry. So there's that. With that being said, Ben mentioned it, my boy AR. What?
Your boy, man, AR-15.
Yeah, my boy AR-15. He's definitely just R-15 now. I'm taking Florida in the points. Maybe this will be a closer game than we expect. I'd like to see a good game here because, like I said, with this being the biggest spread ever in the history of this game, I'd just like to see that was just wrong and that this is actually going to be a competitive game between these two teams. But, we'll see.
The thing that scares me about this game when I'm picking it is, trying to bet against Alabama last week. It's just sometimes you run into a buzzsaw. You got both teams coming off the bye. We've got whatever rivalry craziness could possibly be in store. UGA has been playing games to the under. They're 6-1 to the under, which makes me think, having the points is good. And what's interesting about it is you look, Georgia's like the third best scoring team in the country, which means their defense is just dominating people. But Florida has been keeping games close against teams they should be outclassed by. Tennessee, even LSU, they've been keeping it close. And even though Georgia has been starting to put it together, they had those two kind of hiccups. I'm just going to think rivalry craziness. Florida fresh enough on the bye. They better come with a little bit of trickery, and I'll take the 22.5.
Let's go.
Well, I tell you what, Spend every week preaches just the gospel, and I try to take notes and take things down. So, a couple things I got here tailing my man there. One is Florida, like he said, the past 2 seasons, they've just been bad, like under the radar bad. 1-7 against the spread following a loss. So not only losing, following that up with a bad performance. To piggyback off, another thing that he has taught me is to fade bad defenses. Florida has the worst third down defense in the country. And when you look at AR-15, he threw 40% completion rate against Kentucky defense, which is good. It's not Georgia's defense. Had multiple picks in that game. Georgia is just a vastly better team. I don't feel good about this pick. 22.5 is a lot of points in a game that's a rivalry and the biggest spread ever. But we'll go Dogs here.
The only thing I heard out of that handicap was that Arizona State does not have the worst third down defense in the country. And, that just makes me feel pretty good.
There we go.
No, 100%. Oklahoma State on the road at Kansas State. I'm going to keep this short. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm rolling with OSU because I just think that they're better than Kansas State. And I still would like to see them make a run at the Big 12 title, especially after putting my boys down last week.
I'm the same way. I just talked to Oklahoma State's going to run the table the rest of the way.
It's right in the playoff.
Kansas State's banged up. Deuce kind of rolled his ankle. Their safety got banged up. They got 2 quarterbacks banged up, which they might both play, but one's got a shoulder. I think the other one's got a knee. So I'm not sure why Kansas State is favored here. I know Okie State's a little banged up too, but I think they're just going to keep scoring points. Give me Oklahoma State. Bang, bang.
Pokes. Man, guns up. Or no, I guess that's Texas Tech, right?
I want one of those paddles. Can I just bring that up real quick? I want one of those paddles that they hit the side of the stadium with. Like that's phenomenal. The paddle pads or whatever. Like I want one of those.
Oh man. Well, this is one. It's like a couple pieces of it. One is it's such a weird number, and it's anytime Kansas State's part of a weird number, I feel like I need to go to the side of the purple. Like Adam, if you remember a few years ago, K-State was like a 3-point underdog to number 2 Oklahoma. And they beat them by like 40. Like I just like weird games with K-State just like stick in my head. So I don't know. That's probably part of it. So that's going to my gut more than anything. But just looking, Deuce Vaughn, Adrian Martinez, both supposed to play. Oklahoma State rush defense has not been great this year. If they can muster something out of it, I think K-State finds a way to get it done. Oklahoma State's coming off a big emotional comeback victory. It just feels like an interesting spot.
All right, hold on. I'm just gonna I'll take Kansas State. I don't like this is just one of those games, man. I could argue either way, but I have no clue what's going to happen in this game. But I'll take the home team. This coin came up purple, so
there we go.
Now that I look at it, I feel like Manhattan's probably worth 2 points, so they probably do have Oklahoma State as the slightly better team. And so now that I look at it, the line might make a little bit of sense. I think it's pretty fair.
No. All right. UK, the University of Kentucky, traveling to their demise, traveling to Rocky Top. Guys, Tennessee rolls. They're just going to keep going. They're going to keep steamrolling everybody in their way until they get to Georgia. What is that, 2 weeks away? That's getting pretty close, ain't it?
Yeah, next weekend, I think.
Oh, God. Yeah, so give me Rocky Top to cover. I think they win pretty handily here.
Not so fast, my friend.
Listen,
yeah, Georgia's still a few weeks away, so like they have Kentucky's got or for Kentucky they do it this couple weeks away. Tennessee's got them coming up, but I just think like a couple things. I think with Georgia on deck is one distraction, but I think what Kentucky does well is I think they can limit Hooker from getting out of the pocket and letting him run around and create a lot of stuff. I think Kentucky can do that to help slow him down a little bit. And to me, like I know how good Tennessee's been this year. Their offense looks like it's invincible. Nobody can stop them. But I just think they're due for a little regression. Number one, due for a little pullback. Whether it's that could be 35 points rather than 50 points they've been averaging. But I think they are due for one. And this is a team that obviously can slow them down. A good defensive effort. And Will Levis said it this week. Like, our goal offensively is to string together, multiple 10-play drives. Like, they want to be on the field and just have the football. So make Tennessee come out. And I know Tennessee loves, like, Tennessee against Alabama. They love to score fast. Like, they had like 4 touchdowns in total, like 8 minutes. So they're comfortable playing that style, but have a couple of those drives stall out quickly in a minute, and then your defense goes back on the field and they're on the field for 5 or 6 more minutes. And that happens a couple times. If Kentucky can execute that game plan, still a big if, but if they can execute that game plan, I think they have a chance to kind of be in this game late. Look, I love Tennessee's story, right? I don't really, but some people do. But look, don't get too high on the team, right? It looks like they're playing out of this world, and this is the first of 2 big games for them. I think there will be a bit of a pullback offensively. So give me UK off a bye with the points.
And the nice thing about the Tennessee story is it's just different. It's just somebody else. They'll probably lose by a field goal in the last play of the game, in the last game of the season. But, they got Georgia looming. That was the first notes I've got here. Kentucky 3-0 against the spread against ranked teams this year. And then last year, the Wildcats had the ball for 46 minutes of the game. Talking to what Levis saying they wanted to do, and they lost 45-42. I don't know if it'll be that high scoring game, but I'm gonna take the Cats. I'm gonna go Kentucky as well.
Damn, it's DiCaprio versus everybody today on this one. I like this. I like this a lot.
Man, I'm also going to the Wildcats there. Yeah, so I love the Cerveza stat, the 3-0 against the spread against ranked teams. But a couple things stand out to me. It just feels like a perfect matchup for UK in a perfect situation of a Tennessee look ahead. So perfect matchup, top 15 pass defense. Obviously that's Tennessee's bread and butter. I don't know that anyone can stop this pass offense, but I think they can slow them down. You look at the last 11 games, 24 points or less for Kentucky. They have a legitimately good defense. So I think, and they have a good pass defense. Flip side of the field, Will Levis is, starting to play with a lot of confidence, starting to play really well. And this is the worst pass defense in the country. I think that matchup plays into Kentucky's hand. So the matchups are there. I think the talent isn't, but I think the matchups are there to keep it competitive.
Cerveza, good call bringing up last year's box score. I'd forgotten all about it, so I pulled it up. It's one of the more remarkable box scores you can look at. 45-42. Kentucky had 612 yards of offense and had the ball for 46 minutes and still found a way to lose that game, which, it tells you what Tennessee can do offensively, to have the ball for less than 14 minutes and score 45 points. And they did it with almost 500 yards of offense. It wasn't like turnovers, fluke plays. It's a remarkable box score, but so that's the game plan. I think they'll go for one more time. We'll see if they can keep, I think they have to keep Kentucky from scoring, or Tennessee from scoring 45 this time to cover that.
Yeah, I agree. To cover it maybe, but I'd still probably see Tennessee to win this game. And Kentucky's got to be scoring touchdowns. They can't be kicking field goals, and I'm sure they know that as well. But I guess that loss to South Carolina 2 weeks ago doesn't look as bad anymore.
What a wild loss that was. Ole Miss traveling to A&M. Jimbo is about to be 3 losses under someone. Ole Miss is going to A&M and is about to rock their world.
Wow, rock the Casbah.
Yes, I hope the Yell leaders are really getting their practice in this week. I really do.
Ole Miss is the biggest bunch of hicks you've ever seen. Whoop! Something like that. Great.
Yeah, some real zingers coming their way. This game will be fun to. I think it'll be fun to watch. I'm curious to see how Ole Miss responds after that game last week. That to me is what's really interesting, because they still think they're a good team, and they don't necessarily control their own destiny in the West, but I still think the West is up for grabs as it can be at this point right now, right? With LSU still in Alabama to play. So they'll have their chance at Alabama as well. So they still have some things out of them. I don't know. I think is A&M starting of their freshman quarterback. I don't know.
I don't remember where.
where A&M is right now. I feel like I think I heard Haynes is starting this week, so maybe they get better offensively. I don't know, but yeah, it's hard to back A&M with anything right now. But this is definitely a game they can win. I mean, look, so you saw where they were against Alabama a few weeks ago. They're still a pretty good, like a good enough team. They got plenty of talent to compete. Ole Miss has to figure out a way to stop the run. I still have Ole Miss to win. I think there's just a little bit better team, but yeah, it would not surprise me if Ole Miss lays another egg and kind of comes back down to earth a little bit after that start.
Is that an egg bowl pun or is that something different?
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
How does A&M bounce back? You're suspending players for getting high. You're suspending players for driving real fast through parking garages. I mean, can these guys even focus? And crazy things happen, and there's still going to be 100,000 people at Kyle Field. But the bottom line is, I wouldn't bet A&M with y'all's money. So I don't need to make anything else. Ole Miss 2.5, easy.
Yeah, nice. Well, Ole Miss is 3-0 as a road favorite. Weird like quirk of the schedule here for the Aggies. It's their first home game since that Miami game, I think. Since September 17th. They've been on the road since then and had a bye. So really weird quirk of the schedule. Finally back home. I just, if it comes down to this game, I don't have a great feel for it, but it's one of those, who do I trust more? I don't know that I trust anything about the A&M team. I mean, even defensively, they're good, but they're not great. I think Ole Miss is just a better team. And in this spot, I just trust them more. So I think going there, I think the offense is enough. And Aggie's offense is bad enough that I think it's a difference.
They did have a home game against Arkansas right after Miami, but still, yeah, three.
Isn't that in Dallas, though?
What did do,
correct.
Hector?
Sorry. Absolutely.
Yo, so for our last game of the week, we did something fun.
Is it fun? Do we consider this fun?
We consider this fun. Beautiful. So we got Northwestern and Iowa. We're not picking the spread. We're going over or under 37.5. Honestly, is there a way for me to tease this down even lower? Like, do y'all know where I can maybe get it to, like, I don't know, 26, 27? If anybody knows, let me know.
Because I'm taking the under. It's not the adjusted. It's the – I don't know if they do it with lines, but, you can get the alternate line. I wonder if they have that on the over-under.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that's something that I'd love to do, honestly. I'd love to bet it down real low.
How low would you go?
Like I said, about 26, 27. I feel like this just has all the makings of like a 12-10 game, in my opinion. I don't know. But knowing me, that just means that they'll end up both scoring 30, and we'll all just be sitting here like, holy shit, how did this happen? So
I don't see that happening. I'm with you. No matter which way you look at this, I don't know how you can convince yourself that like it might sneak over, like there might be a fluke play here or there that push it over. But when you look at what Northwestern's offense is, it's not good to begin with against a really good Iowa. Like, Iowa's got a really good defense. I just don't know how they move the football at all. And I think Iowa's going to try maybe a 2 quarterbacks this week. I don't know. They're still not settled on offense. Yeah, so that could maybe give them a spark. I don't know, and that could change things. But I just don't see the biggest thing is I don't see Northwestern scoring much in this one, and that's why I just think it'll stay under, and we'll see this thing being maybe 20-10, something like that.
Man, it's the beautiful game. It's the working man's bet. It's the blue collar hard hat bet. Is when
there we
take
go.
These Big Ten games that are in the 30s. They're just daring you to bet the under. They're begging you to do it, and I'm telling you need to. Let's look at a couple of these things here. So you have two teams offensively averaging, not even offensively, point scoring, because that's an important caveat for Iowa, because offensively they're not scoring anything, is 18 and 14. That's 32. That's in a dream scenario. That includes FCS teams that they have played. That's how bad they've been. Northwestern's only win is against Nebraska. That is going to stay the case for the rest of the year, and it makes it extra hilarious about Scott Frost. I mean, Iowa hasn't scored an offensive touchdown in 2 games. Like, there's no way that this game gets totals above the mid-20s. bet the under, have confidence. This number came out at 31.5, and I would still take it under. I'd take it all the way down to 24. I mean, like this game is not going to have points in it. I'm going to watch some of it because I'm a Big Ten pervert, but I'm telling you, man, it's a classic.
Oh,
I hope this is the ABC game, 2:30. Everybody get excited. Everybody thinks there's going to be an SEC game breaking out. I don't know about it. Can Northwestern score 10 points? I doubt it. I don't think so. Iowa hasn't gotten the offense going, but let me tell you what. Iowa's got nothing to lose. They're going to go after it. We're getting the over. It's going to be 30-10.
Here we go.
And I'm telling you now, and then I'm just going to retire. No more picks for surveys. Give me the over. It's not even going to be close. I'm not going to sweat it for a second. EJ and I, we put literally all our money on it. Parlayed it with anything. So give me the over.
There we go.
Let's ride.
Iowa's two highest scoring games this year. When they got crazy and scored 27 against Nevada and 27 against Rutgers, they still didn't go over 37.5. So just throwing that out there.
Hey, it's the offensive palooza. We got Padilla coming in. He's going to spark them.
That's a wild stat. So this is the board for the week. Which, by the way, EJ, I love the fact that you changed it to the logos. I just think it's
logo's
fantastic.
Cool.
That's great work by you. Ole Miss is probably gonna shit the bed now this week.
Absolutely, that's everybody bet on A&M. Take the money line. That's just a kiss of death.
All right, our Georgia picks are already read it out there, Nelly. We're already for one. It's a preview of what's to come for my column.
No, facts. Let's take a look at our locks real quick. I just keep flailing with these goofy bets these last 2 weeks. The over under and then the Kentucky thing, whatever. I like that though. Spin 5-3. I feel like you honestly should be 8-0 if we're being honest with each other.
Yeah, locks, man.
Your locks are locks.
They hurt. So, this week though, we'll see.
All right, are you ready?
Go.
Bow. Syracuse. 2.5. Syracuse 2.5. Syracuse showed me a lot Saturday. Okay, they just look. I wish Casey was still in here. They just held onto the lead to a top 5 team in the nation for so much of that game. They played better than a top 5 team for so long, and I just think they're going to carry it over against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame this week. Syracuse rolls. Lock it up.
I like it.
Man.
No.
Well, the for all our ACC folks here, I got the Miami UVA under. This is the stinker of the year. This game. let me just throw out some of these offensive statistics for you. Josh Gaddis, speed and space down in Miami. Miami against FBS teams. So you got to throw out the 70 points against Bethune-Cookman. Against FBS teams, is averaging 22.5. Only breaking 24 one of those games. UVA on the other side, averaging 17 a game against FBS. Their highest scoring game of the year is 20 points. This is at 47.5. This game is going to be so ugly. It's sloppy. It's terrible. Under all the way on this one.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's going to be less points in the Miami-Virginia game than in the Iowa-Northwestern game. All right, just said it first here. I have been drinking this whole time. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Illinois-Nebraska, under 50.5. Pretty simple for me to look at. Illinois got the number 1 defense in the country. Wow. Nebraska's 57th. They're number 1, I believe, not only in scoring defense, but also in yards per game.
I think in total, yeah.
So Illinois, they got the number 1 defense. Nebraska is 57th in scoring. Illinois is 18th in scoring. Illinois has not played one game that has gone over 44 points, let alone 50. They're going to control this game. Like you said, they're going to punt inside the 40. They're going to just make it ugly. So give me the under on that. Fair
enough. I mean, I could definitely see that as well. Listening to you last segment and know what my pick was here, waiting for Cerveza doesn't make me feel great right now. And look, I was going like all the picks that I had. I just kind of settled on this one as the one I'd lock in. mainly for a couple reasons. West Virginia's pass defense is really bad. So TCU should be able to exploit that. I know it's on the road, but I just feel like the fans are restless, and this is going to be one of those games where if TCU can get off to a good start, and they haven't, it's like that's been a bit of a problem. If they can get off to a good start, it could be one of those games where like the fans just start booing, right? Just like, let's get Neil Brown out of here, turn on them, and it could just go sideways. Plus, one of their top running backs is at West Virginia, so it's kind of on CJ to run the ball, and he hasn't been that effective. And then JT Daniels, again, good start to the year, but I think 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions over the last 4 games. So he hasn't been as good either. I just think, again, 2 teams, 2 different directions. And look, obviously the biggest concern for me in this one is coming off the 2 games they've been off of with those 2 tight, hard fought, emotional wins, big wins. But I think TCU will kind of keep their foot down offensively. And as long as their defense can get some stops and kind of keep it in check, I think they'll be able to get out of there and escape there with a pretty comfortable win. I mean, if this was at home, I think they could easily win this game by 3 touchdowns. But being in Morgantown, I'm going against the fact that they're a bad defense and that Neil Brown's on the hot seat and they got some injuries, and just I don't think people are happy right now in Morgantown. So give me TCU again. That's 7.5. Just the worst number to bet. Unless it ends up at 14. So that's the only time you feel good. But this is definitely one that I don't fear the back door as much. To me, it's more or less like TCU coming out flat. Like I don't know that West Virginia is going to come in late and score a late touchdown. I think either TCU is in control the whole way, or this is slugfest until the very end. So let's go TCU. Have a little fun with the Horned Frogs and see what happens. Yeah.
What is it?
And I mean, but I agree with you. And I think TCU, what I was saying earlier was just it has those parallels that
I agree.
That scare me. But I mean, if TCU is 7-0, or I think they're 7-0, got a chance to win the Big 12, you need to be striving to get better. You're not Alabama or some team or Georgia that you can go and mess around with Missouri, get out there with a 10-point win. Nobody really cares because there's bigger fish to fry. They need to be getting better every week. They need to be figuring out how to fix that first quarter, second quarter problem and jump on a team they should dominate. So, I mean, I liked Washington last week, and I mean, it scares me, but I certainly wouldn't be on the other side of this. So,
and to your point, like along with them getting better, they have to win some points by like looking good too, right?
Yeah.
Because you just assume that they're still going to be on the outside, especially in a group of undefeated teams. Like they have to do stuff to kind of make a statement. So if you have the opportunity to score points and put a few more on the board, maybe you do here. So just a few reasons why I like them. So we'll see. I mean, again, it's like 3 bets that you really like, and you got to kind of hone in on one. So we settled with the Horned Frogs this week.
That's the hardest part of the show for me is like, okay, there's 3-4 bets I really like. How do you just say this is the one I like the best? As soon as I choose one I like the best, I'm like, oh man, I really like that other bet.
Yeah. Well, let's win them all.
Yeah.
Hey,
well,
you there.
Any closing thoughts from anybody?
Man, great weekend incoming. Looks boring, looks sleepy. Should be exciting. Hopefully, we roll on state and I can have a few hummers. We'll see how it rolls.
This guy.
Astros in 4.
Sweet baby.
Phillies in 6, baby. Phillies
what?
In 6.
Here's the thing.
Phillies are playing. I know the Astros are playing great, but the Phillies, man, they're rolling right now.
Here's my thoughts.
Number
one, I'm glad there was 5 days off. Okay, get them a little slow. Astros just had 5 games off. But for the Astros legacy, anybody over here talking about dynasty, which people are, it's like you can't lose 3 World Series in 5 years or 6 years and call yourself a dynasty. They have to win.
So literally my exact thoughts on this real quick. We're the Atlanta Braves of the 90s, except for we quote unquote cheated for one. If we don't get this one done for real. I'm scared to death of the NL East. The last 2 losses, Nationals and Braves. One more thought. Thank God for a 5-day layoff because maybe that'll cool the Phillies bats down because they are nuclear hot. Astros pitching. I don't know. It's crazy because it's so funny. It was such a reach stat that was posted earlier. The Phillies are the last team to beat the Astros, and the Astros are the last team to take a series from the Phillies. But it's because they played the last season of the year. And fun fact, the Astros hit them one of those games. Stros in 5. Let's get it done. I might not be here next week if there's a game on Wednesday. If there's a game on Wednesday, y'all might just do it without me. So, anyways,
don't forget about me. We'll see.
Hey,
if it's
you know what?
2-2, I'll be here. If it's 2-2, I'll be here. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. So, all right, guys.
Let's
Ben,
do
you got
it.
anything? Anybody else got anything?
Roll Tide,
No?
I guess.
Go blue.
As always.
Yeah.
Yeah.